And
what? Are we live?
We are live. There we are. How'd that come through the microphones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
So we're running hot.
And I'm waiting. And we are live. There we are. Everybody got their drinks. How'd that come
Sound
through?
clean?
Just top it off.
Yeah, sounds clean on the feed. So welcome to everybody that's tuning in. Salute,
Cheers,
gentlemen.
Salute.
Yeah. This is my brain. I'm Jeremy Scott Gibbs. Everybody got their drinks. To my right, so welcome Mr. Tony Bradley, my co-host, the number one earwig, as usual. This is my brain. I'm Jeremy, my right-hand man in carpentry and life, James Davis, and his father, Jim Davis.
You get
not the
double.
cartoon.
You get me plus 2.
Not the cartoon guy.
It's genetic, what you're saying.
And so,
Garfield.
this is our first. This is my brain broadcast for 2020.
2020, baby.
2020. I have been sick all week.
Yeah.
It's the first full day that I've been out. This is the first day I've been out of bed for the entire day.
And functioning.
And you saw me yesterday. I was quite wiped out. So you can hear my voice.
Yeah.
Suck it up. I don't care. So this is my brain. I was just going to say that.
Disclaimer.
I'm not that out of practice. So with that, and we've changed up the setup and location in the man cave. I don't like what's behind me, just the way it's looking. No, well, we can turn that light out, but we're working on the whole man cave. It's in a process of remodeling, and so being sick, I didn't get enough done this week. So pay no attention to the shit behind me. Anyways, we better give the disclaimer because I'm already cussing.
I know, right?
Go ahead, Tom.
See, I can barely see it. It says, notice we are politically incorrect. We say, what is that? Merry Christmas. One nation under God. We salute our flag and we give thanks to our troops. If this offends you, leave.
And on top of that, we cuss a little, we drink a little, and we laugh a fuck ton.
Yeah.
Salute.
Mandatory.
So today, for This Is My Brain, we're going to have a discussion about music, and I'm going to pull up my notes because I took notes while I was laying in bed because that's all you can do in your moments of cognitive clarity.
Got the chat blown up already, man.
Do we guys bring it? Is anybody saying?
Who's all listening?
They're all saying hi.
So Nightwing Vids says, "Cool brain." They caught the logo.
Oh, they like the brain.
Yeah. And then Sasha's apparently sleeping on the whole thing. I said, "Wake up."
Wake up.
And Nightwing says, "Hello.
Hello.
How's it going, man?" And hey, check this out. My cousin, the unknown artist, is listening live in the chat.
Just
right now.
in the room.
So yeah, side note, caveat, tangent. If you guys listen to any of this stuff, or YouTube, or Twitch, or any of that stuff, go check him out. Shameless plug. My cousin is the shit. Unknown artist. He does a podcast called From Both Sides. He has a ton of cool streaming stuff. Go check him out. Show him some love. He's all over the place on social media. So be the social media whore that we all are.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, it's better to be the shit than a piece of shit.
This is right.
So he's the shit, and that's great. So we like
He's the
that.
whole shit.
He's the whole shit.
Yeah.
And it's if you ever look up that guy on YouTube,
Dude, it's hilarious.
he does that
Stand-up
whole skit.
comedy, the shit.
The shit.
Well, and the funny part about it is I have to give him another shout out for the simple fact that he's been riding me like I owe him rent. And we've been streamlining all of this stuff. If you look at all of the description stuff,
Yeah.
he showed me how to do all that properly so people can actually find us on social media and we're all connected. He's... And there's more people in the chat blowing up. This is great.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hold on, let me go back here. I think I missed somebody.
Get some.
Sasha said, "Hello, strangers," and Nightwig Vids said, "It's going pretty good."
Thanks.
Unknown Artist says, "Thank you," and hey, Night, and hey, Sasha, and Sasha said, "Hello, Tony's cuz." So
Nice.
This is awesome. Thank you guys for jumping up on the chat already. We haven't even got to our subject yet.
Dude, that's the way it is.
It's incredible.
I mean, that's why we take so long on these podcasts.
That's right.
In the room, though,
Yes.
in the gallery, My mom is here, and you know she's the most awesomest mom in the world.
Your mom is the shit.
Because she's my mom.
Your mom
She
is
is
the
the shit.
Your
See,
mom
there's certain
is
people that
the
are
shit.
the shit,
Yes.
and then there's a lot of other people we know that are just
she's
pieces
badass
of
at
shit.
pool.
But she'll kick your ass, man. She'll kick your ass. Candy is in the room, and my son Vincent is lingering somewhere around here. I don't know where he's at.
He's fixing his vape.
Oh, he's fixing his vape. He was
got
supposed to
a
do
soldering
the.
iron.
He was supposed to do the smoke
Intro?
intro,
Yeah.
and we just haven't do it. It's like they're like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. I'm like, no, when you watch it, that's fucking cool. That's cool. So, anyways, we wanted to. When I was thinking about it, and I've been wanting to get James on for a while. Tony and I have talked about it because when we get the opportunity to just see the three of us, I want to do an origins and just talk about you guys' connection with me, because you've been connecting with me for a long time.
17 years, actually.
And you've been connected with me for about 3 now, and you
Right.
actually literally moved your family from Indiana to come to work for me full time. And so I just want to talk about what not just the connection to me, but what life connections mean to us as people, because you know you had to pray about it, and your wife had to pray about it and really decide.
It was definitely a lengthy process.
Exactly. And so I want to get into that on another show, but because your dad's in town, because
Right.
we're going to have the big Super Bowl party here in the man cave tomorrow, you were like, dude, would you care if my dad came? And I'm like, dude, have at it. And so I started thinking about it as I was laying in bed in a pool of my own sweat. And I said,
That's hot, brother.
well, it was hot.
Literally.
Like the first 3 days, I soaked through. I have like night pants, you know, like the
Lounge pants!
not quite lounge pants, but yes.
Not 90s, right?
No, but like
Like onesie? You're in your onesie and your pool of sweat.
His Power Ranger onesie.
Hey, I'm not judging.
what do you
man.
guys call? What do you call the pants? They're
Nothing wrong with the complete
bed
seal.
pants, right? They're night pants.
What? Scrubs?
I don't
They're
wear
not
pants when I go to
sweatpants.
bed.
They're specifically to sleep in.
Pajamas.
Okay, but pajamas would denote tops and bottoms, right?
Right.
Oh, pajama pants.
There you go.
See, I'm still coming out of it.
Unless you're doing like the Porky Pig thing, then it's tops, no bottoms.
Okay, so anyways, so I'm in those.
Bottoms, no
I've got
tops.
some flannel ones, pretty thick. No, they're fleece. They're
Fleece?
really thick. I mean,
Yeah.
and then I'm like in my t-shirt and a thermal, and then I've got a heavy duty like thick. I don't know if it's cotton or cotton fleece robe. Like, I mean, it's a burly night robe, right? and I've got that on and one of my stocking caps on, and I'm under the covers and got them pulled all the way up, dude. And I'm just like, I'm gonna slut this shit out, man. And so while I was in that delusional haze, I came to myself and I said, we're gonna talk about music. Because
subject.
It's opening a can of worms.
well,
man.
because
there's so much.
Because all of us here at the table have a musical background. We have musical
Right.
influences. We're musicians, singers, whatever. And so what I want to do first, before we get into our favorite stuff, is I want to go just real quick.
Got some more stuff happening in the chat.
Is it something we need to interrupt me for?
But yes, it is, because Dustin said, "What's on the menu?" You answered that, which is the subject we're talking about is music.
Thanks, Dustin.
And Nightwing Vids said, "What's everybody doing for Super Bowl?"
We are
We're
having
partying here.
we're having the mega fucking Super Bowl bash at the Man Cave.
Yeah.
Second annual.
This is the second annual.
Second annual.
We have. Is there a shot, Nate? Does your computer camera pick up the?
That's the long shot of the table.
All right, hold the long shot. I'm gonna go up real quick. I don't know if I can do it.
You get a shot of the stage.
There it is.
Oh, there's the light.
Okay, there's the TV. There's the stage. That's all you get.
And the pool table and the bar.
Yep. That's everything you need to see.
Yeah, that's everything. You got the cord going all the way down. Hey, we're ziplining on this podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Fix that one in a minute.
Hold that. We'll have the Asian hold it out of the way.
Vince is coming back with this thing. Okay, so all right, go back to a table shot.
He just walks by and
There he is.
Jose,
Get him in here.
No, you-
There's one of my best friends.
That's right.
First appearance.
And then also,
There he is, right there. Ah, look.
Nightwing Vids chimed in and said, "Footed pajamas."
No, they weren't footed. No, but they were
Onesies.
But they were.
I'm pretty sure he
That's
had
what I said. Night Ranger one.
Yeah,
Power
Ranger,
Ranger.
yeah.
Onesie. Yeah.
The pants are long enough to where I usually when I go to bed, I have my specific T-shirt that I like to wear, just because I like to throw the covers off up here sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to stay a little bit warm, it's the thickness of a sheet. And then I have my socks on for at least like the first 10, 15 minutes while I'm in bed.
Right.
And I slowly kick them off as the feet area warms up enough. And then by the end of the night, dude, I'm kicking the blanket off of my feet and I got them sticking out to cool off now that I warmed everything up. So, anyways, good recap on all of our chatty people. So
Blowing up, man. I'm loving this.
I'm loving it too, dude. That's what we want.
because you got the Davises tonight.
Is
that what it is? There was no pre-promotion.
We're not that bad of shameless horse, all right?
Yeah. No.
Don't tell me that.
Yeah, buddy. Anyways, so I want to go around real quick and just we'll end with me. Start with Tony. We'll go around.
Okay.
And just a couple minutes of your musical background. You know, when you started playing. Obviously, we're sitting here at the table. We're already musically talented. We didn't buy it. We didn't rent it. We were born with it. So,
Yeah.
so you've got musical talent. But Tony, you play guitar, bass, and a little bit of. Well, I'm not even going to give you drums. But you were a highly talented musician and a phenomenal studio recording artist, as well as an engineer. And we're getting ready to record. We're going to start recording between the St. Patty's Day show and 4th of July. We're going to go hardcore in the studio and get 3OF's music.
I'm so looking forward to that project.
Yeah, so we're gonna start. Well, that's part of the building the stage and
Right.
and getting everything. We're gonna start coordinating everything off so that we've got sound booths. But
This is totally relevant.
Jesus,
Seriously, Sasha chimes in and says, Steven Tyler PJ, Steven Tyler PJs.
you know, some of the things that you end up saying on air that
Yeah,
people pick
shouldn't
up
be
on.
said.
Fuck, I didn't know
Take it
that
and
the
run with
lounge
it.
pants story was going to carry. Does it still carry?
Dude, there's still people that chime in every now and then.
Say lounge pants.
So okay, for those of you that don't know, I'll tell the story. So,
Oh boy, buckle in.
Buckle in. All right. You can go to Table Shot, not Nate, to give everybody a good view of the rest of them panicking. So I'm at the bar. Okay, so I play hockey every Wednesday with Jimmy and the rest of the guys.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
I'm one of the goalies. Well, last year they talked me into playing for one of the leagues on Wednesday nights. So at the time, I was already playing my Tuesday night league. So I'm playing Tuesday night, Wednesday afternoon, 4 o'clock, and then Wednesday night. And it could be anywhere from 9 to 11:30 at night that I'm playing. So I'm not giving up my drop-in because them are my boys. But the drop-in is the drop-in. You go there, everybody kind of splits up into sides. We play until one goalie loses by 5 or by 2 points, right? And then it's almost an hour and a half skate. And then afterwards, we have beer in the locker room, and then we pick a restaurant, and a bunch of us, anywhere from 4 to 10 of us end up at a local pub and have dinner together and have more drinks. So we ended up at this one bar around the corner, and I was given permission because I've been in there 3 or 4 times now. We ended up over at T-Bone's, and the gal who waited on us, Erica, she comes over and she's waiting on us, right? And it's the whole table of guys, and every girl in there is a little number.
Delicious.
Yeah, and so she's doing this, and finally she comes over one time and she's reaching across the table to grab something from the other side of the table between 2 guys, and one of the guys is next to me, and she's leaning over the table like this, and they're all leaning back,
Damn, girl.
right, getting the shot, and she comes back around. I said, Erica, you can't do that, honey. She goes, do what? I said, you can't lean over the table like that with these guys who just got out of hockey. Okay, you can't do that. I said, they're just staring at your yoga pants. And she goes, these are lounge pants. Now, mind you, I've already had 2 beers in the locker room. I got to the restaurant, and I get Fireball, or Angry Balls, which is an Angry Orchard beer
Yep.
with a shot of Fireball in it.
Yep.
Okay? And I usually go 1, especially if I'm going to play hockey. Well, that particular night, the owner comes over and knows all of us.
Yes.
And he says, "Hey, I'm buying you, a round of shots on the house."
Yeah.
So another shot. I get a shot of Fireball. I said, "Okay, I'm done." And then somebody says, "What are you drinking?" I said, "I already had an Angry Balls. I'm not doing another."
Angry balls.
And they're like, "No, you need another one." I'm like, "Fuck." So I get another Angry Balls on the table, and I'm like doing this, right? So then somebody else ordered a round of rum shata.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
So I'm doing this, right?
It goes down
And,
way too
and
easy.
in between, in the midst of that second Angry Balls and that just before that rum shata is when I had this interaction with Erica. And she says these are lounge pants. And so I made her explain what the difference was. She goes, "Well, it's the pleats in the cuff on the bottom." And I'm like, I didn't want to call her out and say it. That's fucking stupid.
There's no difference
And
from
no one
the,
was looking at
Nobody's,
that anyway, right?
nobody's looking at your calves, honey. Nobody gives a
There's
shit.
no difference from the ankle up.
Right. You're talking mid calf to the top of your ankle. You're telling me that's the distinction between lounge pants and yoga pants. Anyway, so she
Either one's
says
good.
this. So I was there for another half an hour, 45 minutes in the restaurant. And anytime somebody at the table said they needed something, I would go, "Lounge pants!" across the fuck. I was starting to get so lit up that I'm across the whole fucking bar yelling. I mean, Jimmy's grabbing me. Other guys are like, "Dude, calm down." "Lounge pants!" They're like, "Calm down." I'm like, "You need another beer, right?" They're like, "Yeah, but I can ask her." I'm like, "Lounge pants!" So that was Wednesday. The very next night, I'm a guest on Don't Make This Weird.
Yeah.
And I get, I don't know, 2 Di Seronos in and tell the story
Yeah.
on there. Because, dude, I got to hockey, all right? I looked at my, I'm not going to watch, and I go, "I got to go skate. I got to go play goalie." Now, luckily, it's like a half a mile away from the bar, right? So I drive back to the rink, and I get in there, and they're like, the rest of the guys are in there, and they're looking at me like, "Hurry up, get dressed, dude." I'm like, "I'm getting it." And they're like, "Are you fucking drunk?" And I went, "I think so." Won the game 2. We won the game 4-2 or 5-2. I only let in 2 goals in the second period.
I was gonna say, you're the goalie.
I'm the goalie. I kicked some ass. I think I was so limber and I was just like, wham, wham. I was just flying doing shit.
I'm gonna go for me.
Yeah. So I get
Ground rules are.
sure here, motherfucker. I can't feel anything.
I'm gonna stop with my face.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot in there. I mean, it goes off, diminishing returns like real fast.
Right. They're like, "You should get." We got off the ice. They're like, "Yeah, you should get drunk more often." Yeah. I'm like, "No, I don't feel anything."
Speaking of getting drunk,
So-
we just had Heather chime in.
Is she drunk?
No, I don't know. Maybe she's white milk wasted, but she says, "Hello, all."
Hello, Heather.
Hi, Heather. I'm,
And then,
I'm due for some
the-
cheesecake.
The unknown artist chimed in and said, "Hey, again."
Hey,
So
again.
I think he was addressing that to Heather.
Oh, okay.
But
So then we told this story on your show.
Yes.
About a year and a half ago. This was.
God, was it that long ago?
It has to be because they're in the next season right now.
Right. Okay.
So, and there goes Vince walking back through. That's a better background than what I've got behind me, anyways. But
Exactly.
keys are over there on the table. Guess he's taking my truck. So I told the story on Don't Make This Weird.
Yeah.
And for a year and a half now, since then,
Somebody chimes
in all caps during chat and says, "Lounge pants."
Dude, I'll be walking through Walmart and nobody I know will be around, and I'll hear somebody from another aisle. Lounge pants!
No, you won't.
I know.
So, but I have talked to Erica since then.
Yeah.
And she said she's willing to come on your show and be a guest on there.
have to make that
and,
happen.
And I'm like, dude, tear it up.
That poor
And so-
girl.
No, when you meet her, you were like, okay, yeah. But she actually, she gave me her number at one point. I think I gave it to you, passed it on to you. But then her phone got smashed or something, so whatever.
That's shitty.
So next time I'm in there.
So Heather says she stopped drinking, and Dustin says, "Proud of you. Never have."
Never have drank?
No, my cousin. Seriously. No, like my cousin is a total fucking badass. Like he went for his black belt, and that's like a 12-hour ordeal to pass the test. He lost how many pounds? He lost like 12 pounds, 11 pounds, something like that, for the whole 12 hours that he was doing this black belt test. Like he's a total badass, and he's never touched a drop of alcohol.
Wow.
Robitussin?
Robitussin. Something.
That's all good.
But yeah,
So, okay, so we got that
the
story.
chat's gonna blow up.
Hey.
Let's get to the subject.
Let's get to the subject.
Yes.
Find the ones that are the most relevant. That's
I mean,
'cause-
you gotta
hey, we got to
acknowledge
talk to
your audience.
We do,
Absolutely.
and I totally agree with that. Okay, Tony started to talk about you.
Yes.
You're an artist, virtuoso, one of my close friends for 17 plus years.
I fake it really well.
No, he's good.
No, the friendship.
Listen,
Oh,
listen. For those of you that don't know, Tony is such a musical virtuoso that he's one of the Tony and Chicago's brother.
Yep.
Chicago's brother.
Chicago's brother.
Chicago's brother.
It's on the tip of my. It'll come to me. It'll come to me like when you're talking.
Yes,
And
of
I'll
course.
interrupt you. I'll be like, oh, in chat, in my head, fucking name came up. But you were the two guys that have an open invite. In fact, I don't think we'll ever do a show without you unless something happens. But nothing's gonna happen to you. I speak protection over you. But anyways,
Thank you. I received that.
you were such a virtuoso that the first 5 shows that you did with us, you came in cold.
Yeah, had no idea. Just
No idea, and
There
just
was no
popped his
rehearsal.
head
no
in.
rehearsal, and just sat in with us, and pulled off phenomenal shows. And so that's the kind of. But let's go with your
Right. You get good at
in
it.
cold. Give us
What was the question?
a quick synopsis
Okay.
Musical background.
of your musical background, buddy.
Well, I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I heard this amazing noise in my crib and couldn't figure out what the hell it was, and it wasn't until a few years
This
later.
was a literal crib, right? Not your home, your MTV.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
No, I was 3 or 4 years old. But no, I heard this great noise, and I'm like, what is that noise? And I want to figure out how to make it. Well, years down the road, I think it was like, I don't know, 7 or 8, maybe 9 or 10. Discovered that it was Jimi Hendrix playing the Star Spangled Banner on the Double Live Woodstock record, because I had an old record player. And it
Nice.
irreversibly changed me for the rest of my life, just seeking all of those crazy textures of his guitar playing, because it was so visceral. It was such a extension of him, but in the same token, a part of him. And I'm like, I want to do that. And I had almost zero musical talent. I couldn't sing. I couldn't carry a tune in a bucket or a dump truck, whichever was bigger. So, yeah, and that was kind of my relentless pursuit of going, I want to figure out how to play music. And then I got my first guitar out of a JCPenney's catalog for like $65 when I was 14.
And to be fair, back then,
Yeah.
you could get a decent guitar out of a JCPenney.
Oh, no, this was a steaming pile of shit.
It's better than it's better than
Oh, no, it was straight out of a JCPenney's
yes,
catalog,
it's-
and you
it's
could have.
better than the first act.
Yeah.
When
That was my
year
first
from
guitar.
Walmart.
was a first act.
worse than a first. It was a harmony.
You get Walmart.
Think about
first
this.
act.
Harmony from JCPenney's, okay? Look it up. It's the biggest pile of shit. Like, it wasn't even plywood. It was like...
I'm just thinking of Dwayne with the first act, right-handed that I had to switch to a left-hander,
Yeah.
which was the biggest. We talked about a couple of people being the shit. This
Yeah.
was a piece of shit.
hot steaming
Hey,
Cleveland.
if you're good, you can play anything. You ever seen Zach Wilder play the Hello Kitty guitar?
Oh, yeah. I seen, what was it? Paul Gilbert do the same thing, which was badass. Now, what impressed me is watching, what's the guy's name? He's Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater playing a Hello Kitty drum set.
Right, I saw
That
too.
was fucking badass. But yeah, that's what kind of started me on that pursuit of being a musician and just, hearing something and then trying to emulate it, trying to copy it.
Right.
Because, Jimmy put out, 3-4 records and was here for 3 years in the limelight. And that was
Right.
it. That's all
That's
we
it.
got.
Yeah. It's
So,
amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
And you've toured. You were in touring bands for a long time?
Toured all over the freaking place.
Right.
Well, by the time I was 17, I had been to 24 states
As a touring musician.
as a touring musician. And when I moved out to Las Vegas in 97, I only added 3 states, and that was New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada.
Right.
And that was it. So, I mean, it was pretty crazy. I was, it was funny. When I came back from Alaska when I was 14, because we went to go visit my uncle up in Seward, Alaska, that was kind of the precursor of getting into guitar, because he had a 12-string, which was great, because I'm like, it hurts my fingers, but I like the way it sounds. So, yeah, that's... And I come from a huge musical family, but I sucked at anything. I mean, you're in band... because I was in band in like 4th grade, and we had the recorders and crap, and of course all the poor kids got to play, clarinet.
Yeah. Yeah, your aunt had this in school. You can try it.
Right. It's got
What?
And they're actually a pretty hard instrument to play. The clarinet.
Yeah, because you're looking like
They have,
Satchmo
the
trying to
most
play a
keys, I
clarinet.
think, of any-
It's just not okay.
Right. Could have given me a harmonica and slapped me in the head.
Oh, so Denise chimes in. Denise Pickleman, this is Chris's girl from our show.
Right.
She says, "Hi, Tony," and then Heather chimes in and says, "Denise!" with
Yeah.
27 exclamation
Sweet.
points. So.
Okay.
Hi, guys. Love you. Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely. All right, James.
So I'm gonna, because each aspect of this story I could dissect and turn it into a lengthy conversation. So I'm just gonna try to give you the overview. So obviously my dad is also a special guest on This Is My Brain tonight, and I got to see my dad as a child, because obviously you develop your musical passion as a child, right? So as a child, starting out probably when you start to remember things, 3, 4, 5 years old, I got to see my dad every other weekend. There's 2 different lives as a child, with their mom and with their dad every other weekend. And with my mom, it was always very traditional, very, very strict. And my dad has always done a wonderful job balancing that out. But on the weekends that I go see my dad, I feel like I absorbed more, and I appreciated more and understood memories more, because it was my dad, and I only got to see him every other weekend. And my musical theory, or my musical interest started as a kid, and I remember there'll be times on the weekend where, and it's all silly songs on guitar, him, and we'd wake up in the morning to my dad open up the door with his guitar, and he'd be singing "Old Dan Tucker Was a Fine." And as kids, he'd sing "Old MacDonald" or "Bingo Was His Name" or "Father Abraham." And we as kids, and I personally, I have siblings, but me personally, I loved and absorbed every second of that. And it really developed an interest, seeing him be able to play guitar and seeing him be able to create such excitement with an instrument and a voice, that it started my curiosity, and growing up, after getting out of those childhood songs, more into serious music. He was in a band, I remember, growing up for several years, and on the weekends that I got to go with my dad, and while he was playing in his band and at his shows, I mean, that was the coolest thing ever. I'd see him up on stage, and I'd get to go to rehearsals with him and see him practice. And that's when I was like, man, that's really cool. I want to be able to do that.
Right.
And my mom was never into music. Nobody else I remember as a kid was ever into music. But because I cherished those weekends with my dad, and he introduced me and exposed me to music in such a cool, creative way, from a kid into being a child and into teenage. And when I finally started picking up a guitar, 12, 13 years old, and being able to sit down and him teach me licks, him teach me chords, it was a bonding experience that I never got anywhere else in my life. And I'm not gonna try to tear up, but it really just made me fall in love with how much music can impact somebody. And,
Absolutely.
and how much music can make a difference, and how much passion can develop from music, and there's no better feeling than being with people you love or people whom you're connected with, and being up on stage and jamming and hitting those notes and hitting that timing.
Brother. Give me some of that.
And that feeling, it's addictive, and I think that's why any musician strives to be better, why any musician sacrifices other aspects of their life to be involved with music. And so I got to say, all my music, my origin came from my dad. So
That's awesome, man.
without further ado, my dad.
Yeah,
That's
And
awesome.
then we're going to Dad.
That's awesome.
Me than 13. So I grew up in a family, I grew up in the 60s when I was born 63, so I grew up basically in my and having sisters that were anywhere from 6 to 16 and that. I mean,
Right.
there was music
Oh, man.
in the house, and I grew up. I mean, Hang On, Sloopy, the cow
The oldies, yeah.
Bread. I can think of all these. Yeah, I mean, so I grew up with listening to a lot of music through my sisters because as you get older, you get more connected into, the pop scene or whatever. So there was that part of it. I think as far as musical, talent or genes that came through my mom.
Yeah.
We had a cheap little organ, in our house.
Okay, okay.
And it was, it was nothing fancy now, but it was an instrument.
Yeah,
And,
right.
So I would play around with that, and my mom could play. She wasn't a great player, but she could navigate a keyboard. She was all right. So starting out early, having that, I would try to play the simplest songs, whether it be lullaby or whatever, and that's at a very young age, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old.
Of course.
As for me, you kind of lose interest in stuff, or at least I did.
Right.
I would play for a while and practice something to play something stupid, and then I'm off playing outside and doing
Yeah.
So, but at the age of 11, I got my first guitar, and it was a K. It was a K acoustic guitar. I think I got it through Montgomery Ward's, if I remember.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I got a Mel Bay book. I don't know. You have to be old to remember, but Mel Bay.
That's what I learned on. That's what came with my guitar.
He taught
more than the guitar.
Yeah.
He taught a lot of people how to play guitar and get started, and it was just
No, he didn't, because I wanted to play Metallica and
Well.
Led Zeppelin. So
But you
Well,
learned
you know what?
you
I mean,
learned
you
old
gotta
tolerance.
skip to my Lou.
You got a better story because your first memory is like Jimi Hendrix. I'm talking about Mel Bay, but anyway. So I learned, your basic open chords, G, C, D, E major, those things. I learned those chords, and you can play actually quite a few songs within 2, 3 chords, and you can. There's a lot of songs, but I played like really stupid songs, like
Wow, dang.
Rye Whiskey. I think it was D and A7, if I remember.
it's a great song, man.
Well, yeah, it was, but it wasn't Metallica or anything like that. So
I did
So
a
I
lot of
learned-
drugs.
well, I'm not gonna go there. But I am a child of the '60s, so okay.
Do you remember it though? Bits and pieces.
Yeah, bits and pieces.
Yeah, the '70s
you
weren't
did
kind
enough.
to you, man.
I remember bits and pizzas.
Bits and
pizzas.
You ate all the shrooms.
No, all of them. I have 2 left for you. Well, very good.
So anyway, I learned
Yeah.
acoustic guitar, open chords.
Yeah.
11 years old, and then probably I think I put that down, lost interest, and went and did other stuff. And
Right.
then I think I was around probably 16, 17 years old.
Picked it back up.
And yeah, I learned off different people. I find
Right.
out someone played guitar, and they knew. Someone showed me how to play bar chords, and so it was really.
Now you play guitar left-handed, right?
Yeah.
That is so cool, man.
It's always been great for me because when he's teaching me something, it's like looking in the mirror. It's like perfect.
Right.
So it always worked out for me.
But you are left-handed. So, I mean,
That's great. I'm left-handed too.
Yeah.
We're not.
See,
I use my left hand
play-
sometimes.
See, it would have been better if I'd have known, but it just was natural playing left-handed. But I would have much rather learned to play right, because it really limits when you're left-handed. You go into a music store. There's walls of guitar, and then they got like
3
one-
left-handers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
or if you're going to stop over at a buddy's or whatever,
Right. Right.
Didn't think to bring.
That
your
was the
guitar,
amazing
you're
thing
shut
about
out,
Hendrix with him having the right-handed guitar just flipped over.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't care what it was, how it was
Right.
strung, what it was tuned to. He just picked it up and played the damn thing. And that's, it's funny you talk about the whole virtuoso thing. When we were recording a bunch of music here, I kept going back to, it just doesn't sound right. And you're like, no, man, keep playing that. I got some lyrics for that. Come to find out, we recorded the whole damn song and the guitar was completely out of tune and in the wrong key.
Sounds fucking phenomenal. Now people it'll come up on a tab thing and they'll say, now you got to tune this string to this one,
Right.
and this string to this one, and this string, and they're like, wow, they got a really interesting tuning. No, it was just out of fucking tune.
I tell you that the people, the millennials and that are growing up in the YouTube age.
Yeah. Mhm.
Huge advantage. I mean, you had to learn everything by ear.
Right.
Either add that or go by the tabs. Or
Lucky
whatever.
enough
And
if
half
you-
the time the tabs weren't really right.
Lucky if you caught the song on the radio so you could listen
Yeah,
to it 27
right.
times because you're like,
Right.
shut up, DJ, hit play and record and go. But no, the chat is crazy blowing up, and I got to catch this up before we get too far behind. Denise comes back and says, hi. Candy chimes in, Miss Candy Ray. Shout out to her on Facebook. Find her on 6 Degrees of True Serum and Serenity Co-op, which is amazing. We'll get
Right.
to that in a little bit. So what I did is I posed a question in the chat. I said, thank you guys for joining us in chat. What are some of your musical interests? Do you play an instrument or sing? And it's been blowing up like crazy. Candy chimes in and says, live music is my church. I sing a little and play drums. Heather chimes in and says, Stevie Ray, hands down. Etta James, Stevie Nicks, Tom Petty, and
Right.
more. Singing, but want to learn more. Denise says no mic. I don't know what that means.
No microphone.
No microphone? Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll figure it out. Heather chimes in and says, love you, buddy. James, thanks for listening. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing. And then my cousin chimes in and says, I love singing. I've been practicing legitimately for the past couple of years. Still nervous doing it in front of people, though. I totally get that.
Singing is like a whole different category of music because I'm a firm believer. Anybody who wants to get into music can pick up a guitar, pick up drums, piano, keys, bass, whatever it is, and they can learn it. And I agree to a certain extent. Singing is a learnable feature of music, but there's a category of singers who are just born with natural talent.
Chris Cornell, man.
Yeah, you can be a musician and you can be into music and practice music. But me, as an example, and the reason I'm talking about this is because I've never been blessed with natural singing range. It's something that I have to work on and I have to train, and I can only pick certain songs that are within my restrictive range. But I just think there's nothing more powerful than a person with a natural born ability just to sing, and I almost envy that.
That's what's
vocals.
funny about it is my cousin chimes in and says, I started learning guitar soon, but I have little to no experience at the moment. And then Heather chimes in and says, lost sound for a minute, but you're back up. Heather, when I discovered Heather, she was in my garage, and we had an acoustic guitar, and we were working together on some studio projects and stuff, because I'm like, hey, we're going live out and doing shows. Can you record it? Push this button, do that, and go. I got to get on stage. So it was kind of a trial by fire thing. So we were in a garage, and she chimes in and starts singing Sweet Home Chicago. First time I had ever heard her sing, and I went, holy shit, why are you not in the studio recording? She's like, well, that's the first time I sung in front of anybody. And I went, are you fucking kidding me right now? That's insane.
I think there's something, I forget where I heard this, but I think there's truth to it, is that it's actually easier, I think, to sing in front of a whole bunch of people
Yeah.
than just,
you
like
have
one,
to.
or one or
People.
two people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have
Because
to. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's so much more intimate when you're singing, you
Yeah.
know, to two or three
The
people.
bigger the crowd,
right?
the less you care.
Yeah, and you almost, I mean, it can separate yourself. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're out, gigging or whatever,
Right.
I sang in front of and played in front of 500 people. That's the most I've ever played in front of.
Right.
But it was you want to connect with them,
Right.
but it's easier just to
You can connect on a surface level, but
Right,
you don't
yeah.
have to be.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that intimate
Right.
thing.
And the other thing too is that being in a band really helps. too.
Absolutely.
Because if you're out on your own,
So
you
many
know,
ways.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you are
Yeah.
absolutely on your own. So
Yeah.
being in a band is like really cool, especially 'cause
Yeah, you
can
feed
cover
off each
for
other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you
We
get,
do that a lot on stage for all the parties and stuff that we do.
absolutely, and you give each other feedback, so you go, did that sound? And we're the type, our crew. I don't like a lot. I've never really tried to be in any bands that were negative, and anytime we had negative people, we found out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Whether they were negative. So the group of musicians I've always tried to surround myself with are people that allow you to explore
Right.
and then give you their honest opinion when you turn to them and say, what'd you think of that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus the guy that as soon as you stop playing, they go, wow, dude, that really sucked. I don't know what the fuck you're thinking. You know, it's like they go, okay. Let's, they might blow you off, but at least they don't shoot you down. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
They
right.
realize that you're trying to be creative in the moment and what you're doing. But the ironic thing about saying that is 98% of the time, anything we throw at each other, we go, wow, that was fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been very rare. It's usually the person doing it who goes, no, that's stupid. All right, let's go. Let's move on.
Yeah, we're our own worst critics.
So
Yeah.
long before it's like if we're playing something, the other persons are going, what the hell is that, dude? Keep going. Like you were
Right.
saying, the out-of-tune one.
Yeah.
What?
It's funny because that's the last comment that's on here, but let me bust through these real quick. Heather said she's a closeted singer. Cindy chimes in and says she has a beautiful voice. Hi, Cindy. How you doing? Heather chimes in and says, "Oh, thank you." Cindy comes back with "You're welcome," and then Heather chimes in to 30F and says,
30F.
"Thank you, 30F, for letting me sing with you."
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's incredible to be part of that collective. I mean, we did a little bit of a rehearsal tonight,
Yeah.
and worked on what's the song?
Lazy afternoon.
Lazy Afternoon, and you recorded it, which was great because we worked out some of the parts and added some parts and took away some of the
And we're
parts.
forced to play it from beginning to end.
Right. And it was really cool because we all did it in one take after kind of starting and stopping like 3 or 4 different times, and then played it through all the way from beginning to end, and it sounded great. And we started clicking, which was really cool. Clicking. Stop here. Oh,
Right.
And go.
Right.
It was great.
Clicking is huge because Lazy Afternoon, it isn't a cover. It's not something that everybody's heard before.
It's an original.
It's an original by me and Jeremy.
Right.
And I believe we've only played it 2 or 3 times, but when you have a good group of guys
Yeah.
that you feed off of, that you explore music with, and you're put into a situation where you get new content, and it's almost euphoric how we all connect and know where each other's going without any words said. And don't get me wrong, we stopped 3 or 4 times and said, hey,
Right,
let's do
right,
this, and
right.
and we all came to a mutual consensus. But then we're like, all right, let's do it, and then we do it from beginning to end, from what listeners would say would be flawlessly, although everybody on stage is like, well, I know that I did this and I did this, because it's very easy to be super hard on yourself when you're a musician.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you listen to the recording, it's like, wow, we killed it, man, and it
Yeah.
was awesome. And it's on
Right.
Facebook. Check out my Facebook if you guys want to see that original.
Well, to get back to following the line of configuration here, what got you into
All right,
doing
so-
the stuff that you were
Yeah,
doing?
it's your turn.
It's my turn. I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to
it's your
keep it
turn.
short because she's sitting right over there. My mom, Connie Gibbs, she's awesome. And as for first, 4 or 5 years, it was just me and her. I mean, my mom is phenomenal. She raised me all by her own, and then she was married for a little while, and then it was me and her again. But I've always been close to my mom. And one thing I remember as a kid, and I've done this. You saw Vince popping in and out of here periodically, and we've done it. But from the time that I have any memories, I remember riding around with my mom singing songs. Singing Simon and Garfunkel, the Beatles,
Yeah.
whatever was on the radio, man. Mom is singing, and of course, the 2 groups that I just mentioned, they're got these beautiful
Harmonies.
I was thinking of the folk or
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
that type of not hugely exploratory harmonies, but very complementary and beautiful harmonies.
Yeah.
So they were easy. It wasn't. I'm not trying to downplay them, but they were very easy to grab hold of and sing with, and you could pick the part that you wanted to sing with. And so I remember as a kid, from my first memories, riding around in the car with my mom and us singing together, and then I've done it with me and Vince. We've done it. Yeah, Candy says yes, she is. Yeah, my mom's awesome. And so mom and I, she sang, and I just sang with her, and so that was the beginning. And so I've been blessed to be a singer, but I've always been around the environment of singing.
Right.
As a kid, I was just raised in that, and so I didn't know anything different. When I sang, and I was a hyperactive little kid. You know, I had attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and Mom battled through that and found out what was going on and helped me through that. But I had all this energy, and I just loved to sing, and I loved to do things, and so I would sing all the time whenever I was doing it. And then I remember one of my uncles had a guitar at one point, and I messed with it. But I didn't have this influence. And then when she got married, I was 10, and my adopted grandfather through that marriage, Grandpa Gibbs, he was a virtuoso, okay?
Yeah.
But an old, not, I want to say Pentecostal, but an old,
Soul music?
Assembly of God type of in love with Jesus type musician, right? But he was also the guy who could sit with a steel guitar on the floor, play it with his feet, a regular 6-string in his hand,
Yeah.
a harmonica around his voice, and play a whole song.
Good God.
Yeah, and just and tear it up. So by the
insane.
time that I got to know him, he, I heard him very little. In fact, he had one of those old cassette, the old boom boxes, and he would record himself. But I remember this cabinet that he had. He had this huge ass Vox. Okay? I mean, a huge Vox bass cabinet, okay, in the one front room of their house. And then his bass, literally, his 4-string bass literally said bad bass on it. And I would go in there. So he had a 6-string, and he had a bass, and I would go in and ask permission. And that's how my mom bought me an acoustic guitar when I was a kid, because she saw that I was musically interested and talented and could sing. And I think we made it through. It was a nice acoustic nylon string. It was beautiful. I'm a dumbass because I was too young to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I went to like 4 lessons, and the jackass raised the price, and Mom couldn't afford it. And so I had this thing in the case for like years. And I started messing with Grandpa's guitars. And I thought, well, I got this guitar. And so I did the stupid ass thing. I took a ruler, one of the old wooden rulers, and I put it in the bridge because it was nylon strings. Yeah. And I was going to make my own fucking whammy bar.
That's creative.
And it worked, I think,
Twice.
and I fucked it up, But either way, it instilled in me a love of music because it's just in your soul. I remember one of my first bands I was 15. And I used to say to a lot of people after I really started working on musicianship is I play instruments for lack of somebody else being here, and I downplayed myself for a long, long time. You know this, Tony.
Yep.
And yet I would find my muse in writing because I would need to put a compilation together in order to sing to it. And so I'd put compilations together. And then I would sing to it, and then I would just kind of try to take a step back and let somebody else have it and let somebody else stuff. But
to chime in for a second with that, I remember you had that old piano that was out of tune.
I ended up,
and you won't rain.
Yeah. Well, I wrote it on guitar.
Right.
And then I transposed it to piano, and then it took on a life of its own.
Oh, God. I still have the recording somewhere of
that. Yeah, I had this old upright, started with a K. What was it? A Kirk, I don't know what it was, but anyways, it was this old upright piano
with the front ripped off so you could
Kimball?
see the keys.
Kimball, yeah, it was an old Kimball upright, so it wasn't anything special, right? The bottom registry, the lowest bass registry, was completely out. It probably had a cracked soundboard in it.
I wouldn't doubt it.
But I got the middle 5 registries enough in tune to where I could tolerate playing it. And I would go in the top registries were fucked. There was no way.
No.
But I would sit down there and we would play. And, I think didn't that damn thing end up in Heartland? It was in Vassar for years. I think I ended up with it in Heartland.
You did.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that.
I remember sitting down one night and I was just started the church and the anointing came over me. And I started, because I was praying and I said, Lord, either you send me somebody who can play piano like I'm envisioning.
Yeah.
Or anoint me to do it. And I sat down, and for like an hour and a half, it was me and Tisha and I think Kenny.
Oh, no kidding.
And we were all in tears, dude. It was just like the
Wow.
word. She was just feverishly writing everything that I'm singing down and trying to, what's that note? Try not to interrupt, but write the notes. And
Right.
It was incredible. So, but anyways, I've had a long history. I would say my mom, number one vocally, because that's my number one instrument. If you guys know me, if there's an opportunity for me to put my bass down and not play and just sing, get the fuck out of the way. It's going to get on.
Seriously.
But if I got the bass, we're going to do what we do. Or if I sit down on the piano, or even if I grab a six string, it's been a while since I've written anything on the six string. But there were a lot of songs. Shit, in No Standard, I used to do
Pitch 13, man.
Well, in No Standard, I used to do the rhythm and lead guitar.
Oh yeah.
Not that it was anything to write home about, but we had some good music as far as the.
Chat's blowing up, man. I gotta catch us
Go
up.
ahead.
Okay. Heather chimes in and says, "Hello, beautiful mom. She's amazing." So shout out to mom again. You already said Candy. Yes, she is. Apparently, there's going to be a recording project coming out of the chat tonight.
Is there?
Heather said, "Candy, ready to get together and record sometime?" Candy said, "Hell yeah. I know a guy who records." Laugh out loud. Cindy chimes in and says, "A damn good one." And then Dustin says, "Good luck with the rest of the podcast. I got to bounce, guys. I love the story so far. I always love hearing stories about people who are passionate about what they do and why."
Thanks, Dustin.
And then Candy chimes in and says, "Bye, Dustin."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
But no, to piggyback on what you were saying, that was one of the things that I met you actually through Ryan.
Through Ryan, yeah.
And
Ryan DeClue.
we worked together at a shop, which was hilarious because I was one of those guys that hurry up and bust out all my parts and have dick to do for the rest of the night. So I'd be sitting there and writing music just off the top of my head, just, sitting there trying to get comfortable with writing staff music again. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" So I'd have like all of these shop napkins with notes and stuff written on it. And he's like, "Well, that's pretty cool. What's it sound like?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I'm going to go home and play it." And he's like, "I want you to meet somebody." So I meet this dude, like, what was it, 2004, 2005?
You got to subtract from 17.
Yeah, so
we were
2003.
2003.
Yeah,
Fuck.
2003.
Yeah, the kids were really. So, yeah.
Maddie wasn't even born yet.
Yeah. Maddie's junior now? Sophomore.
Sophomore. No.
Yeah, she's a junior.
No, she's a sophomore.
She's a kid.
Yeah.
She's
Fuck, she's 15, man. Holy
she's
shit.
15. Yeah. I was there when Maddie was born, dude.
So, and it was great because.
Not literally there, but I mean. Around.
He's like, "You got to come to rehearsal just to kind of hang out and meet some of these guys." So I go over there, and I literally just shaved my head, and see this dude, and I come in, and Donnie's on the guitar just wailing away, and here he is. I walk in, his back's to the door, and he's doing all this crazy like Pearl Jam shit.
Yep.
And I'm like, "Fuck yeah." And he's like nailing it. So I'm going, "Holy shit, who the fuck is this dude?" And then he's like, "That's Jeremy." And I'm like, "King Jeremy." And he turns around, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Get out of my house."
I probably did my customary thing where I went,
Yeah, you did. And that's right, you did.
you sing the first part, I get the ring.
Right. So, and you're like, we were legitimately fast friends because of music. We immediately identified with each other, and of course, fall in love with Donnie because Donnie was just
Donnie was, dude.
incredible musician.
Donnie to me was what. Listen, Donnie was. I'll describe it this way.
Yeah,
Tell
go
me if you
ahead.
agree.
Go ahead.
Donnie was to me what Hendrix would have been if he didn't get famous and had kids and lived to be 38, 39 years old.
Yeah. Donnie was such
Donnie was, if you take away the fame and just let him play guitar and fall into a family life and taking care of his thing like that, but all the talent is still there. Because Donnie would be playing, and Donnie would literally, he'd be jamming out. He had the shit that he would do. He would just, he didn't do it. I never saw Donnie as a gimmicky guy.
No.
The shit he did was not gimmicky, but he had this flair to him to where he would be playing and just whip the guitar behind him. and then whip it in front of him, and then go from playing underhanded to overhanded and just walk down the fucking neck and then come back right
Like
around,
it was
dude.
nothing.
Dude, I mean nothing to like, and I'm like, that's not. It is. There's a level of showmanship. That's literally that guy exploring the very edges of the talent that he has and seeing what he can do, and he just put it on display. That guy, when we did studio stuff, there's 3 or 4 of the studio songs, he literally laid down every track, just like Doffenbach and Jason.
Yep.
I was the only one that did like a couple. Actually, my first vocal tracks were usually the right ones, and then I would try to improve, but all 3 of them laid down their parts in one take. Flawless, just fucking one take, and I would go, okay.
And these the great thing about Donnie is Donnie was one of those guitar players that was so gifted and so talented and literally played from the core of who he was, that he could play rhythm and lead at the exact same time without missing a beat.
Dude, he was
such an incredible musician. And I mean, I took guitar lessons from him. Like, dude, teach me how to do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, cool. And he'd sit there and play the guitar behind his head, not even paying attention to what he was doing, and telling me exactly what he's doing without missing a beat. And that's when you know that it's just...
Yeah.
It's such a...
It's dedication, man.
Dude,
it takes so much time.
But that's the
that
thing,
point.
though, is Donnie didn't even think about it. He would just pick the guitar up and play it, and he's like, oh, yeah, so 14, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 4, back to 15, 16, and he's just doing all of these progressions and lead lines and melodies like it's nothing right off the top of his head. It was insane, dude. Like, okay, you ever seen the movie Amadeus?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this scene in Amadeus where it's the guy that's transposing stuff for him. And Mozart is going off and he's talking about, okay, here's this chord progression. Here's this melody.
Too fast.
Right.
You're too fast.
And the dude's like, slow down, too fast. And he's like, look, I'm trying to get this out of my head. And he's literally talking about the key signature, the times, the crescendos, all the melodies, the rhythm figures.
25 instruments, 30 instruments.
25, 30 different instruments.
Yeah.
And transposing this stuff literally as fast as he can spit it out. And the dude's like, whoa, I'm still working on the French horn part.
Right. Yeah.
But that's how Donnie was.
Genius stuff.
Yeah. Donnie was just incredible.
You have that, and then you've got. I do think you have to have a love and desire to learn and love of music. But James is right. It does take practice. If you want, everyone hits a wall somewhere. You know, and to get over that, you're talking hours of practice.
Oh yeah.
And you hear, people like Eric Clapton and all these. No doubt they had a natural talent, but they'd play 8 hours a day, every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Growing up, you know. So, it's
Donnie
both.
Donnie used to do that too. Donnie would work. Donnie, but when I met him, he was working restaurant jobs and stuff like that. So it was a lot of evening jobs.
Yeah.
So the wife and kids, his wife and kids would be at school and work respectively, and so he would have his mornings to himself, and he would just shred all morning long because that was his absolute passion. And same with Doffenbach. He was the type of bass player. This kid at 20 years old blew us away the one night when I finally got him into pitch 13.
You talking about the Hotel California?
Oh my God! So
Tell the story about that. That's incredible.
So we practice all these songs, and Doffenbach is a virtuoso. Okay, this kid took one of his basses and made it a fretless 4-string bass.
Like Jaco Pastorius.
Like he made his own. Okay.
Yeah.
And he would literally watch bass players, these guys that are just virtuosos, and then he would come in and do stuff. And he literally, we still have like Soul Train, and there's a couple other ones that are just, his bass parts are just fucking phenomenal.
Incredible.
But we were doing a show up in Bay City. And our second set, we opened up with Hotel California because it's got that really nice arpeggiated chord progression at the beginning.
Yep.
And so we're working through that. And we come out of our second, our break from the first set, and we're getting warmed up and ready to start up our second set. And Doffenbach looks over at us, and he goes, "Hey guys, let me do this." We're like, "Okay." And he literally, dude, we're like, all right, we're like, okay, so the guitar player's not going to play the intro, right? The normal intro. And this kid, 20 years old, okay, literally does a hammer-on arpeggiation of the intro of Hotel California, both what do you call it?
Guitar parts.
Well, both. I'm saying, there's the first part, and then it kind of builds up. The second part, and then you hear the drums go doom doom, and then it's singing. He did both of those, dude, full on hammer. I mean, so those of you that aren't musicians, hammer-ons, when you've seen them do it, where they're hitting the strings.
Yep.
With their normal picking hand, they're hitting the strings while they play up here, and he's doing it on a bass, which is not an instrument that you do normal chording with multiple strings. That usually is single strings, and he literally does this thing, and the rest of the band, all four of us, are standing there looking at him to the point that we were slightly behind the start of the rest of the song, because you do that whole intro to Hotel California, and then there's the drums, doom doom on a dark desert highway, right? And we literally, he gets to that spot, and and all of a sudden Chico goes doom doom, and I like looked at my mic and went, on a dark desert highway. We're like, and we got done with the song, and we're looking at him going, what the fuck was that? Holy shit, dude. And he just nonchalantly went, I was messing around with it the other night, thought you guys would like it. Yeah. It was
So August Rush shit, right?
Yes, dude.
Yes.
He was fucking incredible.
So music takes practice. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes love. It takes interest. But for people who aren't experienced musicians and who may have an interest in being experienced musicians, there's another part of becoming a good musician that we haven't talked about, and I'm not going to go into spiritual aspects, but there's also your subconscious goes to work for you when you start to learn an instrument. And what I mean by that is, there's been times where, like you said, where you hit a wall in music, where you're playing, you got that chord progression down, those scales down, you're like, where do I go next? You can master, you can play those over and over, you get better. But believe it or not, there's been times in my life where I played in a church and I played guitar, and I'm using guitar as an example, for several months, and I'll hit that wall and I'll hit the notes in time better, but I won't actually get any better at expanding my guitar knowledge. And then I'll put my guitar down, or I'll lose interest, or I'll get distracted. And the cool thing is about guitar, and I've experienced this numerous times, where I'll put my guitar down for a couple months, and then I'll pick it back up, and I'll be able to do things that I never was able to do before I put it down. And I'm a firm believer, once you train your brain, or your brain starts, when you start learning an instrument, it changes the way your brain reacts to music.
Absolutely.
And when you're listening to the radio, when you're hearing a song, you're thinking about the guitar parts, you're recollecting on what you've learned, and believe it or not, your subconscious actually teaches you things and you don't even realize it, or it makes sense of things. So the next time you go to play, it just comes out and you're like,
absolutely,
wow.
Tony sent me a video on a totally different subject, and the next I put them on my phone. I listen to audiobooks or videos and stuff like that, and so I'll listen to this audio in my headset. You know this at work, right, James, and that helps me. Being a person with attention deficit disorder for a long time, and my mom helped me a lot on that, but I still have somewhat of an attention deficit with that. But I've learned that it's not, people call it an attention deficit, and that's the label we give it so people recognize what you're talking about. But I don't call it a deficit. I multi-track. I can multitask, multi-track. I got shit going on in my head.
Absolutely. Can I just paint the picture of what this means? Because I spend a lot of time.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm not even joking. Jeremy spends most of his time either at work or in the man cave or hockey. Those are his three things. So I'll come over, and I'm not exaggerating. Everybody listening. So I'll come into the barn, right? And I'll see Jeremy with one ear of his headset in, right? And he'll be listening to a podcast in his ear, right? He'll be working on a stage, or he'll be piddling around in his barn. And I'm not even joking. He'll have the podcast in his ear, one earbud out, working on something. He'll have the hockey game where you can hear the hockey game on, and he'll have the radio on all at the same time. And I can almost guarantee you, I'll be like, Jeremy, what are you listening to on your podcast? He'll be say, da 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 da. I'll say, Jeremy, what just happened in the game? He'll say, da 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 da. I'll say, Jeremy, what song is this? He'll start singing the song while he's doing all this. While he's building shit, I'm like, dude, you're giving me anxiety. Man. Calm down.
We've done that so many times.
Jeez, OP. That is the attention deficit that Jeremy's speaking of. Continue. I just wanted to paint that picture.
I want to touch on something that you guys were saying.
Go ahead, man.
Or expand on it. It's like, we've got people out listening. Most people don't play an instrument.
Right.
But about everybody loves music.
Yeah.
And
Touches
I think
the soul.
everyone like connects to music in different ways. And, I'm a 6-string guitar player, but what I always hear when I'm listening to music, for whatever reason, it's always the bass line that I hear.
Yeah.
And I connect to the bass line.
Well,
Probably
you
should have been
feel
a
it,
bass
man.
player. 'cause
You
that's
feel
what I
it.
hear.
Yeah, it's
Right.
frequency.
It's the first
Yeah.
instrument you
Right.
feel.
And there's other people, they hear the lyric, and my wife playing a song or listening to a song, and she'll know all the lyrics to it. And I'm not really even listening to the lyrics for the most part, because I'm listening to the bass line.
Right. I listen to the drums for the percussion. That's my first go-to.
But I think the general public, everyone connects in their own way.
Yeah.
It's very personal,
Yeah.
on how you listen to music and how you connect to it. So.
Speaking of connecting, Chicago Jimmy just chimed in on HFTC. He figured out how to chat,
Dude.
and he figured out how to comment. So,
Good job, Jimmy.
Good job, Jimmy. He said, "Interesting band talk. You guys rock." And I said, "Keep commenting, Jimmy. We love it."
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Jimmy's are a very important part to our band, in
Dude,
case people didn't
guitar
know.
player, virtuoso.
He is the original
and,
3.
and more importantly, a phenomenal saxophone
Yeah.
player. And that's what I didn't realize, Tony, until you said it the first time that you came down and
Right.
jammed with us. That's where I just noticed when we started jamming. I've been jamming with him probably 2.5, 3 years now, because we had a period of jamming together.
Yeah.
But there was a bunch of people here.
Yeah.
And there was no direction and nothing like that.
Right.
And we went, I don't know, 5-6 months, and we were like, this isn't working. And we took a break, and then we regrouped when we talked with Woj.
Woj.
And
Love
we
Woj.
were like,
Yeah.
well, Woj,
Shout out
let's
to
let's
Wojo.
get together, and that's it. Just the three of us, close practice, and this is what we're going to do. But his guitar playing, he models, and that was maybe a subconscious thing with him, as he models his lead guitar from his saxophone playing that he's been doing for 40 years.
It's
It's
so
like
incredible to watch too, because that's the
40
thing.
plus years. Probably
When
was
you
playing as a
look
kid.
at guitar players that you admire and respect, they're approaching it from the guitar model. And one of the first times that I ever saw Chicago Jimmy play, I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? That's not how you play guitar. And then I heard him play sax, and you and I were just like, why the fuck is he not doing that? Because he's just fucking killing it on sax. And then he went back to guitar, and I went, holy shit. He's taking all of his sax lines and his phrasing and transposing that to guitar, which was so unorthodox for me to observe.
Didn't Frank Zappa do that with what was the famous guitar player that played with Zappa? He was
Steve Vai?
Yeah, Steve Vai.
Yeah.
But I watched something where Frank Zappa would write this stuff out and force Vai to do these acrobatics on guitar that are completely unnatural.
And he would do it fluently.
Right.
That's the crazy part about it. Like, if you ever get the chance to, there's a video on YouTube where Vi talks about his audition with Zappa. And it's hilarious because at the end of it, he's like, well, I hear Linda Ronstadt's looking for a guitar player. And it's like, wait, what? Hold the phone. Linda Ronstadt. What the fuck? But, he would do all of this crazy stuff and then go pick up the guitar and transpose it flawlessly and just play this stuff. And Steve Vai was like, holy shit, I didn't know you could do that with the guitar.
Right.
And that was his mentor for years.
Yeah.
Of why Steve Vai is so out there musically. And I say out there because most people don't listen to Steve Vai. But when you hear his stuff, you understand, because Frank Zappa, we tossed the name around earlier, genius.
Yeah.
Musical genius.
And hardly understood it all.
Yeah, I mean, if you want something that's going to be musically stimulating, go listen to anything by Frank Zappa. one of my favorite songs by him is "My Guitar Wants to Kill Your Mama." Fucking great,
Great lyricist too.
Oh God, yeah.
My guitar wants to kill your mama.
Seriously,
Who doesn't
What
love?
shall we name this song?
Who doesn't love the dreaded yellow snow?
exactly. Or Dynamo Home.
Or Catholic girls.
All right, maybe better guitar player.
But no, I mean, absolute virtuoso. And he would take these pieces of music. I mean, I remember watching this video, and Steve Vai was talking about it. You know, he'd play something a little, he's like, hey, remember that? And he's like, 6 months went by. And he's like, hey, Frank, do you remember that thing that you showed me? And he's like, I'd go back and play it. And Frank's like, all right, add these 2 notes. And he's like, another 6 months would go by. And he's like, oh, yeah, here's this progression to add to that. So he'd play the whole thing plus the 2 notes plus the new progression. And another like 6 months would go by. And he's like, okay, yeah, like add these 4 notes. And it was done. And then they would go in the studio and record, and it would be this just incredible piece of music. And then he'd start adding all the instrumentation to it. Wow. And Steve Vai's like,
How do you keep all that shit in your head?
how do you keep all that shit in your head?
Right.
Because here I am just trying to remember this stuff
Yeah.
while we're doing rehearsals, while we're out on tour. Like Steve Vai was 18 years old when he went out on the road.
I
with
actually
Frank
think
Zappa.
Zappa's just fucking with him personally.
But I mean, seriously, you're
Well,
talking
but,
like
I mean,
2
there's-
years of,
I mean,
of musical
I say that
evolution.
Yeah,
Yes,
but
but-
you've got guys that are Mozart, Beethoven type of people that have a whole orchestra in their head, and they're just trying to get it out. You know, and that's the people we're talking about. And again, I know you, Tony,
Yeah.
and we've described Donnie. I've lost track with him. I tried to reconnect with him.
Dolphinbach?
Lost. Dolphinbach's hit me up a couple times on Facebook.
Dude.
We've connected a little bit. He's out west somewhere. But when Jimmy sat down, the thing that I noted, I was like, I could tell. I'm like, there's something different about this lead interpretation, this guitar progression. There's something different about it. It's very cool. I like it. What the fuck? And it wasn't until you went, he's doing saxophone phrasing
Mimicking
on the guitar.
your lead.
Right. And I'm
I
going,
mean, your guys is
dude.
you're
Yeah, no, but that's when you
Yeah.
and him. The one song we
Absolutely.
were working on
It's-
today.
it's amazing.
We worked on it. We stopped and started 3 or 4 times. We mentioned it, Lazy Afternoon, and literally at a certain point, Chicago went, I'm going to lay this riff down on saxophone. Tony, you play a lead over it.
Yeah.
And we got to that section of the song. He laid down the riff for like 2 measures through, and then you started up the lead over top of it. And I'm looking at James. James is looking at me, and we're like, this is the way this fucking
If you've
song
never-
has to be, dude.
if you've never been to a 30F or a party at the Man Cave or a 30F gig, Let me tell you something, and that's on one specific song. I mean, obviously, there's more songs that are destined for greatness, to say the least. But
Cheers to that, brother.
Dude, seriously,
Cheers
though.
to that.
All right, Stormy Monday. If you guys haven't been out, you ought to. Listening, if you're listening now or listening in the future, you ought to come out on one of our scheduled parties. But specifically on the song Stormy Monday, Chicago Jimmy, which is whom we're talking about, and Tony Bradley, which is also who we're talking about, literally will go 10 minutes back and forth from guitar to sax to guitar, and they will literally lay solos on top of each other. It's beautiful. It's a fucking amazing
The first time we did this song.
The first time they did this song, they're like, "Do you know Story Monday?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "It's 4 5
3 chords.
Yeah, it's 3. Well, but you said it's blue. It's 5 4
1-4-5 progression.
1 4 5 progression." And I go,
Okay.
"You play bass?" And I go, "By feel,
3 notes.
by
3 notes.
emotion." I'm like, do you think that I was raised as a bass player? I was raised as a singer. Okay, all right. I play bass because nobody else is here to play bass for me, so that I can just sing. So I play bass. I'm not shabby at it, but I play bass. So, anyways, we literally, the first time we played Stormy Monday,
It was 11 and a half minutes.
11
Blew
and a
it
half
out of the
minutes,
water.
and I said, I think I played it right. Because at a certain point in the song, it's me and Wojo holding down the entire song.
Rhythm section.
While you guys do this. And that was the first, literally that day on the stage was the first time I've ever played it.
Yeah.
And I am not a blues background person.
Right.
Let alone musician.
Right.
And you're just like, it's 4-5, it's 5-4-1 or 4-5-1. And I'm like, what is I'm like, give me the fucking chords.
It's like the battle between
GCD, bitch.
That's right. 1, 2, 3, go.
It's like
right. And I
It's
was
a blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up.
it's equivalent to the battle of Johnny and the devil went down to Georgia. It's just fucking epic.
And now the thing is, 7 months later,
Right.
They're all in for it because now I do know the song,
Yes.
and the blues progression to
Yes.
the point where I'm improvising all over the fucking place, as well as holding down the rhythm for you assholes.
Which goes to show that music goes beyond notes. It goes.
it does,
It goes beyond lyrics. It literally, and you said earlier, it's personal to every musician in their own life. But music taps into so many different areas of life.
It's, in a sense, I think it's part of nature. I think there's-
absolutely.
The vibrations, absolutely.
Yes, there's
The
such a
frequencies
connection.
of nature.
Yeah.
The birds, they sing. And
Absolutely.
it's not just a human thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're created in God's image. So,
Yeah.
we're on the top of the food chain when it comes to music,
Right.
I think probably right under the angels.
Right.
Right.
But-
right.
Yeah.
I didn't play music. Actually, my wife, we did like a YouTube. I was playing a harmonica.
Nice.
Dog started howling and singing to it. Right. And it was like, a couple times it actually hit the right note. It was like,
Well, I mean, Jesus said that if we don't praise Him, the very rocks will cry out. So know that you said vibrations, and we talked about maybe touching on that tonight. That everything Tesla talked about everything is give me the three ways.
Frequency, frequency, vibrations, and energy.
Frequency, vibration, and energy, and everything has this frequency. In fact, they've done a study, and you
What
have
is
to,
spirituality?
Yeah,
It's
well,
the same thing.
Yeah. So,
Vibrations
Nate, did you
and
ever look up
frequency,
the one on
I'm feeling
the vibration,
energy.
no sound being faster than anything, faster than the speed of light?
Yeah, touch on that. That's cool.
And quick caveat. Candy chimed in.
You
Said,
should hear his. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I want to go back to that what you just talked about because that is a very interesting. You told me that today, and I'm like, wow, that's a very new but makes sense outlook on that. Go ahead
Go
with
ahead,
the chat.
Candy, and then we'll jump.
Candy chimes in the chat. Says love 30F. Love the back and forth on Stormy Monday. And that was the
It's
point.
epic.
That's the point that I wanted to talk about real quickly, and then I'll get to the next thing that Heather chimed in about. It was funny because the first time we played that, it was 11 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
And the second time we played it, which was Chicago Jimmy's brother.
Yes, Glenn.
Glenn, yes. There was you, Glenn, you did it. You're like, so
You had to have been here.
The second time we played it, they did a sax duo
Oh my God.
before the song, and I actually recorded that on video, which was great. So
No, wait.
yes, go ahead.
Talk about you motherfuckers throwing me into the blender and expecting me to play a song I've never heard. I've never heard of Stormy Monday. I still to this day have never heard a version of Stormy Monday other than what we've done here.
Yes.
Okay? So when you go, oh, it's just this 4-5-1, just play it like I'm like go, and then I play it.
Yes.
And then you two motherfuckers, you two, Jimmy and you, go back and forth, sax and guitar, and I go, I'm losing my place, not only because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but also because I'm watching two virtuosos go at it and play off each other, and I'm going, oh, this is really cool. Oh, shit. Oh. Then
I didn't know.
Then all three of you are on me, and I'm
your
like,
mind.
all right, I've done this once or twice before. Hold it together. And I'm like, ooh, that was really cool. Fuck. And I'm like, with bass, you can be a little sloppy.
Yes.
I'm like, Wojo, just keep us going, buddy. Just keep tapping it out. I'll catch up. Because these fuckers are on it, man.
That's the
sometimes you just all you want to do is not fuck it up, right? You just let them go. You just like
I'm gonna drop off for a second and come back in on the one.
backstage. It's like
It's funny you talk about that because when Joey, Jimmy and his brother were going
Right.
back and forth doing that.
Oh my
freaking
God, they
Yeah, the alto sax too.
completely
Fucking beautiful.
spontaneous because they just looked at each other and went, "You in? You in?"
Hey, we
Cool.
never even met Glenn before, and he's
Boom!
just
Oh, just
They do this
laid
like
it out
fucking
on the table.
Oh, dude.
minute and a half
Yeah.
sax battle back and forth. And just
Between
like
a-
you were talking about, I'm
They
like,
just-
this is fucking awesome. And then they looked at me like, oh shit, I gotta play. And we
Become
chime
the
in.
audience.
And the whole song is such a cathartic response for me. Because I'm like, fuck, don't forget the lyrics. That was badass. And then, like, just Jimmy's brother is going off in this completely different direction. And I'm like, that's fucking cool. And then they look at me and I'm like, oh shit, guitar solo. And like, I start playing and then
G C D E F.
and then Jimmy's brother chimes in. I'm like, yeah, don't hurt him. Do what you got to do. Because I'm like, fuck, this is cool. I forgot the part. But it was so cool because then it came to the part to where, you know, they traded off licks for a minute, and then we, the three of us, like Jeremy was talking about, started trading licks because Jimmy's brother would play a saxophone solo, Jimmy would play a saxophone solo, and then they toss it over to me. Well, then I jumped off the little stage area, walked over to both of them, and started trading licks back and forth. And it was such a cool experience that it was just completely an emotional response.
Yeah,
to
it's
each
just-
other.
it really is dope.
I was
Such
here
a cool
on
thing.
the New Year's Eve gig that you guys did. here
First
in the
time.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys pulled some. It was, it was. I know it was unrehearsed because it was just pure blues feeling. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And you guys pulled off some. It's like someone should record that and try
And
to
that's
do it again. man.
that's coming from someone as well as with us who knows music and has an ear for music because you know as well as I do. You know, you listen to recordings or radio. I mean, all that is perfected and has been edited on the computer to perfection. But when you hear live music, as a musician, you tune in and you dime into every detail and you hear every detail. But I forget where I was going on that. I lost my train of thought.
I want to touch back into a couple things, and we're going to get into the sound real quick. But I want to say, to finish up, because it's been on the tip of my brain since you mentioned it, the subconscious. Anytime the reason I brought up the whole YouTube, you sent me a video.
Yes.
The following video was another TED Talk, and I'm not huge on TED Talks, but if you filter it for me, then I listen to them, because some of them can.
I got you, brother.
Some of the TED Talks can get a little worshipful of the mind and shit like that, instead of discovering, you know, the depth of. I mean, it's like, anyways. So, but this next guy got on there, and he was this guy that talked about how he was a go-getter, and he would, you know, he finished his doctoral thesis 4 months before it was due, and he did all this stuff, and he did all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, and then he began to figure out that all these people that procrastinate and then come up with these. The whole premise of his discussion was the fact that he was given the opportunity to invest in Parker Warby Parker, the eyeglass company.
Yeah.
And he passed on it because the day before they were supposed to go public, right? They didn't even have their website done. They didn't even have their shit ready to go. They weren't ready.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not investing in this. They're not ready. And he goes, you've heard of them. And then he says the name of it, and they're like, yeah. And he's like, I could have been on the ground floor investing.
Right.
But because I didn't see them being proactive and getting shit done, I passed on it. And he says, my mistake. And what he did was then he went on a study and figured out that people who procrastinate, and he had to give the caveat, people who go and look at something and check it out, but then walk away from it and go do something else.
Yeah.
And then when the deadline comes due, they come back and knock it out of the fucking park. He said, those are the most creative people. Not the people who get it, who start working on it right away, but the people who take a look at it. And then he said, I watch these people. They will be given an assignment. They'll take a look at the assignment. They'll do this. They'll do that. Flip through it. They're like that. Okay. And then they set it down. They turn on the Xbox or the PS4, and they start playing a game. And they're Minecrafting for the next 10 hours. And then an hour before it's supposed to be due, they go, oh yeah. and they go,
Hey,
and they
welcome
start
to
writing all
my
this-
entire high school
I'm gonna
career.
say, yeah, this is the best part of this podcast right now. I can't wait to tell my wife this about procrastinating and how creative I am.
Well, here's the caveat: do you get anything done? Do you get the creative shit done? But here's the point: is you talked about what I saw in that was when you brought it up earlier in our dialogue tonight. You said the people that you hit that brick wall, you hit that that stopping point, and you realize I can't feel a blockage, and you walk away. That's that mechanism to where you go off and it's still in you. It's still gestating. It's still doing stuff. But you walk away. You let it marinate. You let it season. You let it come to. You let it bring itself to fruition.
Subconsciously,
and then
too.
I know if I take 2 or 3 weeks off of hockey for nothing more than work or whatever, not injury or something like that. When I go back, I have a fucking phenomenal game. I mean, I just tear it up, and I go. You've been off for 2 weeks. It seems like you'd be, especially as a goalie, you'd think that you're struggling. And music.
Yes.
I'm playing the best music that I've ever played. I'm singing better than I've ever sang. And there's times when I'm taking. We practice regularly, but there's times when I take time off.
Yeah.
And I go, all right, we gotta rest.
No, there's something too. Actually, this is the first I've ever heard this type of conversation.
Yeah.
So a bit of an epiphany for me.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely true, and it could be what flash in my head is working on something. You're fixing a car or whatever, and you got a bolt that it won't come off or whatever, and you're getting frustrated.
Yep.
And actually, my best friend told me this, and I didn't really connect it, but just walk away.
Walk away. Stop fucking thinking about it and walk
he's
away.
a body man. He fixed cars. He did his whole life. Walk away from it, go do something else, and it'll come back, and then it'll just fix itself almost.
Yeah,
So-
Tony.
It's funny you mentioned that because when we wrote "Look at My Scars,"
Yeah.
you wrote the first verse, boom, without problem, and you're like, I need to walk away from this for a minute.
Yeah.
So I spent the rest of the day recording everything in the studio here at the Man Cave.
Right.
And then you come back that night, 10, 12 hours later, because you had family stuff that you were doing.
Yeah, we had a
And
ton of
during the
shit
day-
that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you came back and your voice was almost spent. And you're like, okay, cue it up. I got to record this right now. Nothing written down except for the first verse.
Right.
And part of a pre-chorus. And you just chime in and you nail it. I'm like, what the fuck was that? Can you do that shit again?
Yeah, I wish-
Because that was badass.
It's literally in the computer we're using for the podcast, so it would be cool if we were able to pull it up. But I know it's not mixed down. So
Right.
What do you got, Nate? What are you thinking, buddy? Are you signaling to me, or are you good?
No, I'm having Tony move away from the microphone. He's blowing the fucking sound.
It's because I got a big mouth, baby.
He does have a big mouth.
Big mouth,
But yeah, that's a huge impact.
Yeah.
In life, and music is a soul. Music. One thing about music that I learned real young, and I've always known the Lord. I've always talked to the Lord and had a good relationship with the Lord, even when I tried to mess it up. But one thing I learned about music is it doesn't necessarily bypass the brain, but it goes around the brain and then goes around your intellect and gets to your emotion and then comes back up through your intellect.
Wow. Very cathartic.
That's why
That
so
is
many
fucking
times.
deep. Yeah.
That's why so many times it's best. Tony will lay down a riff, or James has laid down riffs. 2 or 3 of our songs, you just started playing a riff, and I just
what's
fucking
that
start
one?
singing it.
The
Longest Day, my last day.
Yeah.
He started playing that Drop D song, "My Last Day," and I just, and I don't want believers out there, but fuck, you're listening to my show, so you know I'll bark. There's no holds barred, but I just channeled this inner Civil War soldier on the battlefield as you were playing that note, and then Tony walks up with his guitar, pulls out his lighter, and fucking starts doing this slide guitar over the top of it.
It was
and I'm like,
haunting.
oh, and I'm like, yeah, as the smoke clears, I see the whites of their eyes. And we're like, boom, and then we got Vince, and he's over there just going, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
on the bass drum, and
Yeah.
boom.
You know,
We're just like, holy
my favorite
shit.
part of that song, and why that song above all taps, it goes around your intellect and it touches your spirit and
Goes straight to a cathartic
yeah,
response.
it's because I know that and this is gonna sound extreme, but for that song, there's a war beat
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a straight drive.
Well,
through
there's
that song,
warfare going on,
which is
man.
completely metaphorical to the reality of the Civil War.
Right.
Which I might take this too far, but even taps into spiritualism.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
because
Oh, it was a very
there's so
spiritual
much.
war.
There's so much depth. There's so much
Yeah.
beat. There's so much patternism that goes into it, and that song just drives through it. And that from the very second we play that, I'm like, dude, wow. Like,
But that's what music does. Music,
just thumps, you know? I
music
don't know how to
gets
explain
into
it.
you, and it bypasses the intellect. It goes to the emotion, to the soul, to the spirit, and then it comes back up through your intellect. And that's part of the problem with music. A lot of times is on one hand they try to teach music from an intellect, and you can't. It's got to be.
Here comes pride.
Right.
can-
I mean,
pride in music.
I mean, how do you teach kids in school the ABCs? You put it to a song.
Right.
Exactly.
You know,
You go
and-
to the emotion
Right.
and you bypass that,
Yeah.
and then they get it.
Right.
Every kid out there can sing their ABC song, right? Right. But have them start writing out their ABCs, they start to struggle. But they can sing that song. And so when you talk about music, that's where music really it touches you, and it's the essence. And I think of just how blessed we are to be able to create that. And that's why when I approach a song with you,
Yeah.
with James, or with me, I'll grab the microphone and start singing. And sometimes
Yeah.
I have to hit the record button because I know there's going to be stuff coming out of me that I'm not going to remember. It's total emotion at that moment coming out.
And that's why, I mean, right at the start. That's why Hendrix is,
Yeah.
he's phenomenal.
Yep.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could do pretty much anything imaginable on the guitar, but he had so much color.
Yeah.
And behind it, emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas, I'm sorry if I offend because I don't mean, but Malmsteen. He's phenomenal on guitar.
Yngwie,
You know,
yeah.
yeah. He's
Incredible.
got, he's
Oh, yeah.
spaghetti fingers and that. But for me,
He's got
personally,
that scallop.
I
Didn't he play
can't, I
scallop
can't,
guitar?
Skeleton
I
fingerboard.
can't
yeah.
connect to that because
Yeah.
but that's me. Maybe
Right.
a lot of others do. But
You want a
it's
cool
like-
guy to connect with that's similar to that? Eric Johnson.
Johnson's
Yes.
fun.
Listen
Yes.
to Cliffs of
Dover.
Yes.
Yes, and I know
that's
that.
it,
And you're
right
right.
there.
But there has to be depth and emotion behind it.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many tricks and acrobats or whatever you
No,
can
no,
do.
no.
if
It's
there's
gotta,
not-
it's gotta have that emotional
Right.
connection. And to me, that's what I was saying about the intellect, but also about the perversion of it. That's why I don't,
pride,
I don't like.
Got
perversion.
some stuff to have
I
in
don't
the
like.
chat real quick.
All right, just a second. That's why I don't like hip hop in general. I mean, there's a few tunes out there, and I don't like country in general.
Yeah, what's your
Because-
explanation for country?
Because the majority of country,
Playing
the
backwards and
Shania,
getting your shit back.
no, the Shania Twain.
I'm taking Friday. I couldn't be here on Friday night. How does that make you feel? Apparently,
I can't stand it. The Shania Twain and the.
Oh, come on. I
Beyonce-
feel like a woman.
No,
I think it's the 3/4
Wait,
beat.
what?
When-
has a-
Is that
has a
Shania
part
Twain?
to it.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is when they
See, I wasn't
when
too
they
far.
took
I'm having a problem picturing you as a woman.
Oh,
whenever they-
don't picture it.
yeah when
You'll
they
never come back, baby.
formalized- Hey fuckers. when they
Probably a
when
lot
they-
of Donna Reader on the eyes there.
It might be a lot of something. I can't put my name
if you
finger
can't
on.
as a
Or
musician
can I?
pick out when they turn good music into a formula, when somebody is gaming and not coming from an emotional place, that to me is the problem. And a lot of, not necessarily rhythm and blues, but the rap scene and a lot of the modern country songs, and
It's all formulaic. There's like 6
Extremely
songs
formulaic.
that they show.
Is that why you don't like Nickelback?
Fuck Nickelback.
dude,
Kid Rock?
I cannot stand Kid
Fuck
Rock.
Kick Rock.
You know why? Because he took these heavily emotional songs, and he
samples.
He sampled the
Dude, he
riff.
ripped off
and he
fucking
ripped it
Sweet
off.
Home
Well,
Alabama.
in the rap, they sampled a lot of stuff. But, I mean, you thought he went beyond sample. I mean, he basically
Yeah, but-
took
but you
Sweet
know-
Home Alabama.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't sample.
Better yet, he took the whole song of Sad But True from Metallica and sampled the whole damn thing.
Yeah, there's nothing
Really?
original
Come
there.
on.
And,
Right.
and,
Fuck.
and my problem is, and we've touched on it, we've tapped into it tonight, is there's no, excuse me, there's no emotional connection there. There's no depth. When you listen to Sad But True, the original Metallica version, when you listen to anything on the Black Album, dude, you're like, these fuckers are singing from their heart. Not only are they singing lyrically from their heart, but we know the sessions. They were telling James Hetfield at the time, they're like, don't go back in the studio to record that song tonight because your voice may not recover.
And he blew his voice out.
He blew his voice out, and he was like, I'm going to record this shit right now. And it is the pinnacle of their career. I mean, Load and a couple, a number of the other got some awesome songs on it. But that album right there,
The Black Album.
I mean,
For Metallica?
For Metallica is it's like the heart and soul in that band right there at that moment, and what they're laying out is just phenomenal. And so, we were talking about how you got chat stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, Heather chimes in and says, always a great time at the Man Cave with 3OF. Sometimes 4, sometimes 5.
Sometimes 4, sometimes 4.
I'm
Sometimes
sorry.
5.
I'm just stuck
Are
on
you
all
4
Fs,
or
right?
am I 4?
It's all Fs,
Which one is
right?
it? No, you're 4. I'm 5, right?
I don't know. I just think of 3 old fucks, and that's Jeremy.
So the band.
Anyways, Heather says, amazing song, and I think she was talking about
My Last Day.
Last Day.
Yeah.
And Candy chimes in and said that is an amazing song.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the lyrics you're talking about, the chorus part that came to me that I wrote down.
It's simplistic, but has a drive.
It's simplistic, but it's the cannons roar, the fire blast, the cannons roar, and this may be this could be my last day.
Yeah.
The fire blast, the cannons roar, and this could be my last
When
day.
you
And think about
emotionally
it,
put yourself into a situation of a civil war.
and if you've
soldier.
ever studied the Civil War, which I had to at nauseum in high school, I remember. In fact, I studied the Civil War at nauseum throughout high school to the point that for 20 plus years I didn't want to read anything about the Civil War.
Right.
Because it was just so much. It was like I read so much. I mean, going to multiple libraries to get all the information, and like I would block names. And now I go back and I read it and I go, yes, I remember this general, and I remember this battle, and I remember this thing.
Yep.
And on my senior trip, we went to Gettysburg and Colonial Williamsburg and a whole bunch of other places and toured those battlefields. But when you think about that, just that, if you studied it back then, they didn't have, still had ball and musket.
Yep.
And
Black powder.
when I wrote that, the fire blast, the cannons roar, they had to literally take the fire and light the powder.
Yep.
And there was a powder chamber that would then explode into the main chamber that would then send the cannon. And that's the lyric. When I sang it the first time, it didn't even occur to me. And then I was like, the fire blasts, the cannons roar, and this could be my last, day. And I was like, dude, it was just like. And then I went back and I'm like, that's exactly how it is. Yeah, the fire. And all those memories from a kid studying that stuff came back to me of seeing that spark go into the cannon. And then they spark, and then they all do this. And then it goes. Because there's that delay in that time.
That's literally where the term the fog of war comes from.
Exactly.
When they're volleying all these muskets.
Yeah.
I mean, this black powder,
Exactly. It's amazing. So what do you got? Did you have something else in chat or no?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay, so we talked about it earlier. Nate pulled it up. I want you to show you this because this is powerful. We're talking about music, but sound in general. The mouse over. Anyways, it says sound breaks the light barrier. Nothing can travel faster than light, ... except for sound. This is the claim by some U.S. physicists. So what they did, and I'm sure this is pulling up that thing, is they pulled up and they did this experiment and they proved that sound travels faster than the speed of light. In fact, light is a very, very narrow spectrum. Our visible light is a very narrow spectrum in the whole band of waves.
Yeah.
And so what they're talking about, what they did this test was to find out that sound is actually travels faster than the speed of light. And what came to me when I said that was something the Lord has said to me most of my life as far as being able to remember that, okay? As the Lord said to me that he said, I create things at the speed of thought. And if you think about that, every one of us hears ourselves in an inner dialogue before we speak something. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now I'm just stream of consciousness, but if I stopped and thought about my words before I expressed them, I would have an inner dialogue. We all have this inner dialogue.
I like to think it's
really
Sam Jackson because he's like, motherfucker, say what again?
You should hold your thought, but hit those points because this becomes more and more powerful.
Well,
as
and
you
that's
describe
so.
this.
So what I'm saying is, we've got this. We all have an inner dialogue, okay? And if you think about when they look at that study, they're looking purely from an intellectual, scientific standpoint of sound traveling faster than light, and I believe that. I mean,
Actually, I do too. And
Yeah.
that's first I heard of it,
yeah.
but it makes
and so
a lot of sense.
when I saw that, I think what was that article published? 16, something like that, or 15?
Well, it comes down to vibrations and hertz.
Absolutely. But immediately it took me back to you. 7. Holy cow. Well, I heard about it in 15 or 16.
Yeah.
So it took me back to creation. And
Let there be light.
And you guys know.
You spoke it
You
into
guys know me.
Right.
Tony obviously knows me.
Yeah.
I've been in church, but more importantly, connected with the Lord since I can remember. I remember hearing the voice of God as a little kid. It wasn't foreign to me. When I got into places and like, God doesn't speak anymore, you got the Bible, and I go, well, he told me the other day that I needed to do such and such, and I did it, and it worked out great. So I don't know what you're talking about, but
He speaks, we just don't listen.
yeah, I'll go
Right.
I'll go ahead and
Right.
I'll go ahead and keep studying and reading the Bible, but I'm also going to listen to the voice of the Lord on the inside of me. Anyway, so I when I saw that article,
Yeah.
I went immediately. The Lord said, "I spoke the world into existence."
Right.
He said, "I didn't light the world into existence."
Right.
He goes, "In fact,
Yep.
I didn't even create light until what, the 3rd or 4th day."
Right.
He goes, "I spoke it into existence." Of course, sound is faster than light because it's instantaneous.
Right.
The only thing
thought, yeah.
it's thought. The only thing that slows sound down is what I've created to slow it down, which is the atmosphere, which is bodies. We get a whole group of people inside the man cave.
Sound suckers.
And we literally will
I used
have
to call them that in church.
We'll have to turn the sound up a
these
little.
sound
Well, yeah,
suckers.
when you play in
Because of the
church,
absorption.
you
The
have to turn it
dBs
up a
go
little.
down from an empty gymnasium or
Yeah.
stadium to
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
people.
you-
They suck sound.
They filled rooms with just balloons.
Yes.
And they have to turn the decibel level up to be able to read it at the same level in the back. So they
Right.
play it with an empty room, decibel level is 90 or whatever, and then they fill it with balloons, and it's 84, and they got to crank it up to get through balloons, which are,
Air.
They're air with thin membranes.
Well-
So, go ahead.
Going back to what you were talking about of that whole cathartic response of My Last Day, the first time, going back to the days of Pitch 13, the first time I heard the USS Indy,
Oh, yeah.
dude, I was irreversibly changed because Donnie
Yeah.
plays the Star Spangled Banner at the beginning of that song.
Right.
And then you talk about the USS Indianapolis,
Yeah,
which they made a movie about,
Absolutely.
which
Great
was
movie.
incredible.
Yeah. Which was Donnie and I were both highly steeped in World War II, and I still
Yeah.
am. In fact, I passed it on to both my boys. They'll come over and steal my Band of Brothers and Pacific, to the point that I bought Al his own box set of them. I'm like, here, take this. I go, dude, where are all my more? You got my Fury. You got
yes.
We Were Soldiers.
Dunkirk.
You got my Dunkirk. I said, bring back my World War II movies. He went and seen.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Yes, he went and seen 1917 the other day, and he texted me back. He goes, "I don't know, Dad. I don't know if you just wait for it to come out on Blu-ray. It wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be." I'm like, "Okay." Midway was great too.
Oh,
Midway,
yeah.
the new Midway. So I haven't seen 17, so I can't give my opinion, and I apologize if it's phenomenal. But anyways, my point is that Donnie was steeped in it, and we began to talk about the Indianapolis and how the scene in Jaws.
Yes.
I have the whatever collector's edition Jaws version over there.
Yeah.
And I'll throw it on periodically just to get to that point of Quint telling that story.
Yes.
And he blew it the first time.
Yeah.
The first take that they did with
Yep.
that song, he went through the whole thing, and he was so drunk
Yeah.
that he apologized to everybody, came back sober the next day,
Yep.
rewrote his dialogue for that whole fucking part,
Yeah.
and then went through it. So what you see on the screen, and part of Richard Dreyfuss's reaction,
Yes.
and Roy Scheider's reaction in the movie is completely genuine because it was a one-off. Here it goes. I'm going to tell you this fucking story. He's like, 19 September. You start in that voice.
Yeah.
He's just like,
yes.
yeah. Drop 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. didn't even list us overdue for a week.
That is a great dialogue.
Dude, and it's just
Such
like,
an incredible dialogue.
and he just tells this
Yeah.
heartfelt story because he went back and he made himself do it. But the point was that when Donnie and I were doing it, we were steeped in that stuff, and he wrote this lyric, and then I was just like, dude, I want to do. I mean, in that band, we wrote a song about the Indianapolis. We wrote a song about firemen going into 9/11 towers.
Yes.
We wrote a number of other songs. I was thinking about reaching for the sky.
Yeah, reaching for the
Reaching-
sun.
Yeah.
Reaching for the sun again.
So Donnie plays this riff, and he riffs it, and he goes, and he plays this riff. We'd have to play it for you so you get it.
Yeah.
And I'm in practice, and he plays the riff, and he stops, and I went, reaching for the sun again,
Fucking nails it.
and our drummer goes, doom doom da, doom 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 doom, and Donnie plays the riff again.
Yeah.
Burn
My hand to the bone.
And he was like, dude, what the fuck was that? I'm like, I'll write it down. And we wrote a whole song on it. But that's that emotional catalyst that music has for you. But touching back to what we were saying is sound in general.
Yeah.
The Lord created sound. He created the world. He created
He didn't say let there be sound, did he?
No, never.
Never.
And when you realize at the core, at the root, okay, sound travels at the speed of thought and even faster than that.
Right.
It travels because there is no barrier
You speak things into. He spoke nothing into existence, and actually, we do the same thing. Created
It's vibration.
Absolutely.
It's frequency.
Have you ever heard? Sorry, but have you ever heard the tuning to 432 hertz?
Absolutely, and 440
instead of 440.
Yeah.
And
435,
there's actually some. I think there's something to that.
Absolutely.
Oh, there
You
is.
know, I mean, because
Tesla was steeped in that.
Yeah, I
Tesla
didn't know
said,
that.
you know,
They-
look,
they
435,
tuned in
432.
432.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've watched.
Yeah,
I've watched.
546.
Yeah.
a
And it
ton of
does. You
stuff.
can listen to the same song
Because
and-
it's a
and-
natural harmonic
Yeah.
with your body.
Your
It
water.
resonates with your body.
We're 90% water. It's
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Study that stuff.
it's
Go
beautiful.
look it up.
Yeah.
Nick, can
It
you
is.
pull that up real quick?
Pull it up, though.
What the actual was it? 430.
432.
432.
Yeah.
I think
So
546 is the other. Yeah.
if I understand it correctly, the Nazis are the one who tweaked it up 8 hertz to get it to 440.
Yeah.
And it unbalances
Yes.
just enough. But that's
I mean, they've got pictures. You've seen the pictures with
Because-
the water, when
Yeah.
and you know the water at 432.
Have you seen
turns
the
into,
sand videos on
like
YouTube?
A kaleidoscope sun, you know.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
the sand videos on
440,
YouTube are
it's like
incredible.
everything
yes.
is like
Yeah.
You've seen the church
Disoriented.
the church in Scotland. They've got a church, Scotland or Ireland, but they've got a church, and there's these blocks throughout the entire church, and they've got all these shapes throughout the whole building, and they realized these are musical shapes, and they take the plate
Yeah.
and they put the sand on it,
Yep.
and they do
They
the
vibrate the
frequency
frequency.
until they turn the frequency to the point until it matches the sound, and they've mapped out the music
Yeah.
of the church inside there that they put in it. So it's amazing when you think about how powerful sound is and how it resonates, and how that it doesn't say the Lord will show you. I mean, the Lord will taste and see, the Lord will show you things, but it talks about how you'll hear the voice of the Lord, you know, and that's the powerful thing about it. When we connect with each other, it's the dialogue. That's what separates us. Now animals all have a dialogue in and of them in their species, chirps and communication. But human beings, the pinnacle of God's creation, we have a dialogue that connects with the soul. I've often said it in my messages, on a Sunday morning, that the old lady with 15 cats will give her cats names and personalities,
Yeah.
and she'll say, "How are you doing today?" Oh, you and speak for the cat back to herself, just to have that depth of dialogue. And to me, when we talk about music, and why I get so passionate about music, is because it touches the soul of man. It touches the depth of him. And so I'm very careful what I write lyrically. You know this, Tony.
Yeah.
You've gotten to know me on this, James, that I'm very careful and cautious on this, because I want to touch somebody and bring them up. I want to touch somebody and point them in a direction. When I sing about my last day, I want people to realize that just like you said, there's a battle going on, or there was a battle in the Civil War, but there's also daily battles in our life. And if you don't choose to live in that moment as if it could be your last day, then you're not living to your fullest. You're not living life with all the energy and excitement that you could have. Why hold on to a little bit of energy and save it for tomorrow when you can expend yourself and collapse exhausted and then recover and get up and do the same thing at 110% tomorrow? It's like, give your all. That's why you guys know me. It's where it's like being sick this week was highly traumatic because until I literally get to the point of exhaustion, I will go. You know, I'm doing something, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. Even when we're jamming hard, we're playing hard,
absolutely.
or working hard. I'll come home from work, you know, and do a project for 2-3 hours down here, or I'll go and sit on the computer and I'll write something or I'll do something because I've got to exhaust myself. Otherwise, I'm not living this could be my last day. Now I know I have a promise of a long life, but I still have to live in such a way that if I left today, do I know that I've given my best effort today to the highest potential of my purpose? You know, and to me that's a resonant thing.
We did that recording because I remember over the summer, you know, I wrote like 20-some songs, and we only had the ability to record 4 of them.
Right.
And the second day of tracking this stuff, you would come in and you were so exhausted, and you're like, I gotta get this out of my head.
Right.
And you just grab the mic and like the first couple of times of listening to just the first verse, your voice cracked, and you're like, no, I got this. And then you recorded it, and I was like, holy shit, that it was such a powerful performance. You're like, give me another take. I want to do a harmony part. And I'm like, your voice isn't shot yet?
Oh, it was shot.
And you were like, no, I got this. And like, you come back through and you nail it. And I'm like, this is insane. And when we were done with the recording session, you're like, I'm going back up to the house. I'm exhausted. And I went, holy shit, you worked all day, spent time with the family, went out to the beach.
Right.
And then came back, recorded in the studio for another, 4 or 5 hours, I think it was?
Yeah, I think we were up at Greta's place on the beach that day because you got invited and you're like, I'm gonna stay here and decompress.
I gotta work in the studio.
He's like, I gotta decompress. I'm like, okay, buddy. And so we went up there and Greta's toured us around the lake, and we jumped in and swam and did everything and came back. And
this thought is pounding in my brain. Metaphorically speaking, despite the cannon blast or fire blast, despite the cannon's roar, we're all fighting on a map that's torn.
Absolutely.
And if you think about the soldiers, they still fought because they had to.
Yeah.
It was brother against brother, man.
Well, that's where,
despite everything that's going on. So with music as inspiration, with camaraderie and brotherhood as motivation.
I'm gonna get my lyrics.
With the Lord as our rock, despite the war going on around us, we still get up, we still put on our fighting boots, we still put on our armor, and we go to war and we fight for our brothers, for our country, and for our fellow Americans. Trump 2020, whoop,
Whoop, whoop, whoop. So,
but yeah, this song and the lyrics of the song are just pounding in my brain.
Well,
how metaphorically they coincide with the reality of our lives.
I'm gonna get. I went and grabbed my lyrics just so I made sure you remember most of them, but I always keep my lyrics in front of me just as a cue card.
Read those lyrics,
The first verse. As the smoke clears, I see the whites of their eyes. My blood runs cold. It must be time. It must be time to reload. First chorus. Fire blasts, the cannons roar. This could be my last day. Second verse. The gunpowder and smell of death hang low in the air. The color of the blood is the same on this killing floor. The fire blasts, the cannons roar, and this could be my last. And then we break into this phenomenal breakdown in solo.
It's such a great part, man.
It's bringing tears to my eye, dude. We get misty on that fucking song, dude. And then the bridge, I go into, this is what I received. Divided by color, uniform and skin, politician and rich man has us fighting within. North and south, just a line on a map that's torn. The battle raging in my home has me weary and worn. And then we hold that note, and then we go to the end chorus where I sing it. I repeat the end chorus 3 times. The fire blasts, the cannons roar, and this could be my last. The fire blasts, the cannons roar, and this could be my last. the fire blast, the cannons roar, and this could be my last day.
Dude, that's
Very good.
That's what's haunting about that
good.
part is when you hit that last, and then it's just like it kind of hangs there for a minute.
Yeah.
And you come out with that day, and it's just it's like, fuck, do that again.
music taps into everything that we were created to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying about this.
It's
At the
literally
end of
the barrier,
we're
breaks a barrier.
We're talking about music, and that's why I wrote out a list, and we're not even going to get to it because we're getting
Well,
close to our
speaking
end
of
time,
speaking of that, the tapping into stuff, Nate, can you pull that back up?
Yeah,
That-
pull
that
it up, Nate.
Hurts, so we can look at that. Yeah. Okay. The frequency that essentially is the Earth's heartbeat. The frequency the Earth beats at 432 hertz. 432 hertz resonates the frequency of 8 hertz. Like 432. Seriously, look that shit up on YouTube and just.
I've
listen.
never heard of this.
you never heard of
It's
this?
No.
Like Tesla
dude.
was infamous for this.
Yes. So that's why they've shifted music back in the 40s
Right.
to a 440 because 432 resonates with yours, so it resonates with us. I've often thought about tuning all of our shit down.
Here's
to
the
a
question.
432.
Okay, do some simple addition, right? 4 plus 3 is what?
7,
7 plus 2 is what?
9.
The magical number when it comes to frequency and vibration.
Is 9.
Yes,
Why?
because it's the only number that when you add up all of the other numbers, it's a combination of. Like,
Okay.
okay, look at multiplication.
1 and
right?
8, 2
Right.
and 7.
Right.
3 and 6,
Right.
4
Look this
and
up.
5.
This is completely logical.
Oh.
Yeah, seriously, look it up. It's incredible because Tesla ran off this. He when he died in 1943.
Oh, it's 46.
No, it was 43.
I thought he died right after the war.
No. He stayed in a room that was 3327,
He always was in a room that was divisible.
divisible by 9. And look this up. Like it was incredible.
He was into numerology to the point that he got away from him and he consumed him.
Right. And it's funny because if you look at, there's a lot of spirituality that comes with the number 9.
Yeah. I think that's why the Beatles.
Right.
Oh, sure it is.
Revelation number 9.
Well, they have three different versions. They have the original
Right.
number 9, and then they have Revolution,
Right.
Right.
which they
We could
mention
have a
it,
whole
but then they
show
have
on the
Revolution
Beatles.
number 9. Anyway, so but
Actually, the whole numerology thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're not. I mean, you're not supposed to like worship that stuff or let it control your life.
Right.
But that doesn't mean there isn't,
but
facts behind it. you know?
and math is another one of those things that is, it's not even. It's not. I don't even like to say universal. It's spiritually encoded.
Yeah.
Sound is spiritually encoded. Math is spiritually encoded, and then the rest of it follows what we see every day. But remember, the writers of Scripture often said, we live by faith, not by sight. Well, if we live by faith and not by sight, and then we realize faith comes by hearing. Okay,
And what do you need to hear?
And then
you hear sound.
well, and people will say, well, faith comes by hearing the word of God. Yes. And when you read that scripture, 9 times out of 10, you equate that to a Bible in front of you. But pick up a Bible, and in and of itself produces no sound.
Right.
But Jesus said in John 1:1, he said, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then it says in verse 14, and the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. So the Word of God is Jesus Christ. In fact, he's the picture in Revelation where it says that he is the Word of God, and out of his mouth comes a sharp double-edged sword. Right? And so when we realize faith comes by hearing the word of God, it means hearing the physical words of God, which come through the physical manifestation, which was Jesus. Okay?
Wow.
And then he said, when I leave as the physical manifestation, I'm going to give you the Holy Spirit. And what's the Holy Spirit going to do? Teach you about all things and lead you into all truth. So we have the Holy Spirit on the inside of us if we would listen. Then we would be guided. We would be directed. And it doesn't mean that we end up being perfect people. We say, fuck, we have a nice drink, but we're good to each other. We love hard. We love deep. You know, that's what matters, not how spiritually you look and if you wore a suit. Fuck that stuff, man. Go hug somebody who's hurting. That's the shit that matters. Hear their heart, hear their soul, and go give them a hug. Play some music that puts a smile on somebody's face. Right. Don't play some bullshit formulaic piece of garbage music that's been recycled 5,000 times so that you can have some, whatever, so you can make some money. Fuck that stuff. Go love somebody. Write some music that brings us to tears when we sing about it, because we know that was the reality, man. Those people, 600,000 people died in the Civil War fighting over slavery and injustice so that other people could be free. Not only was it over slavery, but it was also over the very soul of the nation. The British was backing the South to secede, and the French had to come in and help us to a certain extent in the North. But there was a battle for the soul of this nation, because it was a nation founded on the principles of freedom. And they go, well, there wasn't freedom for the slaves. No, they put provisions in there because they knew at a certain point they would be able to address it. There's slavery still throughout the world, and we're one of the only countries that has eradicated it. We have an amendment on the books that says it shall not exist in this country. I just read the 13th Amendment the other day because it was in my history feed, and it said the condition of slavery shall not exist in these United States, nor shall involuntary servitude except for crime. If you permit a crime.
But there's slavery outside of we think slavery where someone actually owns another person. We can be enslaved on you can be enslaved going to work.
Well,
because
but that's a voluntary thing. I'm talking about in the Muslim countries right now. They've got slave blocks.
Yeah.
Yes, there's other sub ways that they try to enslave, but I'm talking about outright over slavery ownership. And but my point is that when we write these songs, it's like I come from a standpoint of I just made a commitment. In fact, I think I wrote one song recently where I said I'm just going to write a song about just write a song, and I ended up still having a subtone in it, but I wrote a song. In fact, Snow Fog's that way.
Yeah.
Where I wrote a song about how last year it was really crazy that we kept having cold and then warm, and then cold and warm and cold and warm.
Yeah.
And we'd have this big blanket of snow, and then it would warm up to 40 degrees, and there would be this fog layer right above the snow, and then it would cool back down to 10 degrees. And then we'd have this, and there was this constant snow fog. You remember it last year? It was like this, this constant snow. It was crazy, and I was like, I'm writing a song about that, And actually, we were just jamming out the chording, me and Chicago and Wojo, and they're like, let's leave it like that. And I'm like, no, there's something here. Yeah. And I came back, and now they're like, yeah. And we jam out Snow Fog, and I'm like, as the snow melts, I see the fog rises, and he's like, but even in that, it's like I'm driving down the road, and I can't see the road ahead of me because of the fog, and I just want the sun to come up and wipe it away. To me, when I say the sun, the S-U-N, I'm still speaking of the S-O-N. I'm still speaking of the Lord. All right, Lord, the fog's here. Help me, clear it away so I can get to where I need to go, so I can see what I need to do,
Looking at it from an English standpoint, when you were talking about that verse, faith comes by hearing and hearing the word of God.
Right.
When you look at the English part of it, the vernacular, it's called a double redundancy in the English language, where faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing and hearing.
Yes.
It's doubling to the point of insanity.
Right.
To where you're hearing something. And when you look at it from a musician's standpoint, from a music standpoint, how is it that we get good at jiving with each other, like we did the song Lazy Afternoon?
Yeah.
We stopped 4 or 5 times. But the last time we played the song all the way through was because we were listening to each other.
And we felt it. When you riff
exactly.
When you riff off of each other, I think that's the insight that it's one thing to talk about the voice of God, and that's I'm not in any way delineating that. But when you come at it with the added perspective of a musician who understands, and I'm not a classically taught musician. In fact, I've told you I had like 4 lessons with an acoustic guitar as a kid, and then watched my grandfather, and I've been around a lot of other talented musicians. But when people say to me, they're like, when I met Donnie and he was like, what's the circle of fifths? And we got to go into the pentatonic scale. And I was like, just shut the fuck up and play the song.
Right.
He's like, well, I want you to understand the theory behind it. I said, you can talk. I'm not going to get it.
Right.
Let me feel it.
Right.
and I'll knock this shit out of the park. And he goes, whoa, all right. And when I auditioned for him, they're like, I walked into the room and they're like, well, what can you sing? And I go, what can you play? And they were like, what do you mean? I goes, what do you guys want to play? They're like, well, we play this. And they jammed it out and I went, yeah. And they goes, and what if we did this? And I went, yeah. You know, and I just, dude, we used to have Rush. We had 3 Rush songs.
Yep.
We had 3 Foreigner songs.
Yep.
We had 2 Tool songs.
Yep.
Godsmack.
Yep.
Did we have a Soundgarden? No, we didn't have a Soundgarden because I couldn't get him to.
No.
There wasn't a lead for Donnie to play on. We had Hotel California. And
Yep.
I still got my set list.
Nice.
Yeah,
So what Rush songs? Because singing Geddy Lee is not an easy task.
it is.
An octave lower.
No. What I learned
You do
was I couldn't do it originally, right? To hit the high notes like he does, and then I pushed my tongue all the way behind my teeth, and so I went from talking like this to talking like this. I didn't change the tone.
Yeah.
All I did was push everything to the front of my mouth and make the sound smaller versus having it deep in the back of my throat. I pushed it to the front.
Huh.
And so it was easily. So I sang. We
So
sang.
it's a tooth falsetto.
Exactly. And so I was like, the first time they're like, well, can you do Rush? And I went, living. I tried to hit the high note. I was like, living on. And I went, living on a light. I just pushed to the front of my mouth. I was living on a lighted stage. My voice is shot tonight, so
Yeah,
I'm
of
getting
course.
it. But approaches the unreal. And I went, holy shit. That's how you do
Yes,
it.
I can.
Yes, I can. And we did Tom Sawyer, Limelight, and Working Man. We
Yes.
did. In fact, we did.
Call it the working man.
Yeah. So unless my voice was really shot that night,
Can you do the
not tonight. Obviously, I've been sick and my voice is shot from us being on podcast all night and having a blast. But and
Yeah,
practice.
you got to save it for tomorrow night. You
it'll
you better
recover.
drink some water, man.
And that's the thing is adding the addendum to that. Is seeing him and performing, you know, these past year and a half or whatever it was that we've been working together.
Yeah.
with Rowan.
Yeah.
But knowing this guy for 17 years and seeing him evolve, not just as a musician, but as a lyricist, as a vocalist. You know, he talked about earlier that he's singing better, performing better, feeling it deeper than he's ever had. I mean, when we did the recording sessions of the songs that we recorded together, I was like, holy shit, dude, this is incredible. Not only the fact that we're recording and writing music together, but you're coming from such a deeper place than you've ever came from, that it's like you're channeling me. And he's like, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm tapping in to where your mindset is, where your heart's at, and what you're struggling with. And he was literally pulling these things out of me, and I'm like, nobody else is supposed to see that. And he's like, I got you. And just singing these incredible lyrics.
Yeah. What was it? What's the name?
Look
of
at
that?
My Scars.
Look at my scars.
Oh, man.
You're like we were standing over there.
Yeah.
At the time, this bar was over there.
Yep.
And I'm sitting at the bar, and you came over and you're just playing this, and I goes, keep playing it. And I'm just like, you know, I start singing, and he's like, what the hell, dude? That's exactly how I'm feeling. I said, I'm channeling you, dude.
Yeah,
And people freak out. They go, channeling. I go, I'm tapping into his emotional state, hearing the voice of his heart, and singing accordingly.
And
okay?
I was in a fucked up place at that point.
Dude,
in time.
you were
And he
tore
just
up.
Immediately channeled into it and just started writing these lyrics. And like I said, he wrote a verse and a pre-chorus, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then walked away from it for the rest of the day. And then came back that night, 10, 12 hours later.
That's the
whatever.
power of meditation,
It
too,
was
is when you just
incredible.
you
Like,
roll
just
shit over in your
captured
mind. You know?
Everything that I was feeling. And like I got a little choked up as I'm sitting at the recording console and he's singing these parts and I'm going, dude, that's exactly what I'm feeling. How did you do that?
Do you guys have a technique or an approach to putting the middle eight or the bridge into a song?
We just feel it.
You know,
feel it.
a lot of
Every single
Because
time
to
we
me,
recorded
the
together.
bridge is like,
there's a bunch of songs that we have.
you don't have to have a bridge.
where we don't
right.
even do it.
Right.
Where
But a good bridge
like
is
this
like,
one right
it's a
here.
bri-
This is very.
That's what the Beatles were great at.
When
the
we
middle
do
eight,
My
man.
Last Day,
Yeah.
okay, if you
the
listen to it,
breakdown.
there's a progression through it, okay, but the reality is it's not a verse, chorus, bridge,
Right.
chorus. It doesn't have that formulaic
Right.
feel. It literally was James does this intro, and you know, here's Tony, and we're working on getting, because this was something the three of us came up with.
Yeah.
With Vince sitting in on drums, we're working on getting Wojo into it, but I want to hear Chicago with his saxophone, because he plays not an alto, but a
Tenor.
whatever the big
Baritone.
one is. Baritone.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
plays that nice big sax, and I said I want that haunting, that tone underneath
Yeah.
it while you're doing that slide guitar, because your slide guitar, dude, I go, that's what I'm fucking feeling. But it's like when I looked back at it, I went, oh, we do have verse, chorus, but then we go solo, and then we come out of it. But the solo is not even a solo. I mark it as a solo, but it's this beautiful arpeggiation that James had. And then originally we were going to let it stand
Yeah.
as just him doing this arpeggiated guitar part through there.
Yep.
And then he started playing it. I think the first time we actually played it live was on Don't Make This Weird,
Right.
the one
Yep.
podcast.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
We'd only practiced it a couple
we only
times.
practiced it a couple times, and we went, all right, we're going to do this. But the emotion was there.
Yeah.
And I started playing on it in that part where you're doing the arpeggiation, and I actually came up with an atonal complement to it on the bass, where I go bam da-dum, ba-dum-dum, bam ba-dum da-dum, bum, bum. And it doesn't overstep, but it's like this, what he's doing in this drop D arpeggiation, and then I come in with this atonal thing to where it's like you can tell the notes are not in a set systematic pattern.
They're dancing around
They're
each other.
dancing around each other, and it just comes up. And then, of course, Tony's on it, and I want to, we're working on it, bringing the rest of the band up to it. But it just brings about this feeling, this eclectic feeling. And I think that's the only way that we end up overcoming that disharmony with the 440 versus the 432 is bringing the emotion. When you bring the emotion, you tend to flatten that out. Right. But I think for me, when you hear a lot of these other formulaic songs, that's why I wrote out our stuff tonight, and we're past our time, but past our normal time. We usually do 2 hours, but I don't give a shit.
Well, we're talking about
at-
music, so you'd
Exactly.
expect that.
One of the caveats that I wanted to add to that is the fact that you invited me well over a year ago
Yeah.
to come and just hang out, not even to play, but just to come hang out, reconnect,
Right.
as we've done for years and years since we've known each other. And you're like, go ahead, bring your guitar. If you want to sit in, that's fine. If not,
Well, and I was cautious with the band too. I
Right,
said, "Look,
exactly.
Jimmy, Wojo,
Exactly.
we, especially Jimmy and I had jammed with people, and I said, look, my buddy Tony's going to come down. I'm not. There's been nothing, no promises made, no, nothing's been, I just
Changed.
exactly.
Right.
I said, but I invited him down because I want you to meet him. He's a phenomenal guitar player, great guy. I said, I want you to come down I want him to come down and hang out with us. I said, if we end up having him, I told him to bring his gear. I said, but if we end up having him, and I said, but because of Jimmy and I specifically,
Yeah.
Chicago and our past experience, when we first got together and jammed,
Yeah.
and we had 3 or 4 other people with us, and there was no direction. There was just nothing,
Yeah.
not bad people,
Yeah.
not untalented, but just no direction. And so we just kind of scrapped it. And then Chicago and I were at a open house, and our buddy Wojo's there. We're all good friends playing hockey. And Wojo says, yeah, I played drums, 30 years ago, and if I had the opportunity, I'd play again. And we went, what did you say to us? Motherfucker, I got a drum set sitting
Right.
at the bar. And he
Right.
came and sat in, and our first time, we picked a couple things and just started jamming.
Yeah.
And he was obviously rusty, but he got in the pocket and just started nailing it. And it's like, so when I invited you, I was like, dude, just come and hang out.
Yeah.
Now we've had this past experience of people who didn't have, any direction, but here's where we're at. And so
And that's what was
you
so
came in and you were
incredible.
like,
Yeah, that's what was so incredible about it is the fact that not only was it a serious kick in the ass from a musician standpoint, because playing with Jimmy, playing with Woj, obviously playing with you,
yeah,
but every single time we have done a performance or we have done a show, or we've done a gig, man, by the time the end of the night rolls around, I'm crawling into bed and I'm just like wiped right out because all of me,
all of it, the whole, the energy, as well as the intellect and the emotion. The emotion's the biggest thing. You just pour out. In fact, it's been strange because
when you step off the stage there,
haven't I had something
or the stage area, and you're just like you're on this high. And you're like, fuck, that was awesome. I want to do that shit again.
Did you see James?
Yeah,
last time.
Yeah.
After the New Year's party.
Yeah,
he come down and he goes, dude, that was the best fucking time jamming I've ever had in my life. I goes, all right.
So I have to say something on that. Now.
Right.
As you know, as James's father and some influence anyway.
Yeah.
On his, for me to sit back and watch that with him.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like so proud, so cool.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to say before we have to wrap things up, but the best gig I ever did in my entire life, and I'll never forget this, is the first time you and I played together. And I think you were like 16 out at Toby's. My nephew, his cousin, standing around the fire, just 2 acoustic guitars, and we played a song together. It was the first time. And so
just blew you away.
It blew me away.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
And you know what? I found out. So my cousin Toby, I'll just hit on this real quick. My cousin Toby, we were at his house. There's a lot of turmoil going on in all of our lives at that time. But Toby's dad, my cousin's Toby's dad, died when he was 6 years old.
Yeah.
And I found out later after this night, Toby was in the house, but me and my dad were out by the fire just playing. And I believe we were playing Black by Pearl Jam.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
great.
And but I found out later. My cousin Toby came to me and he said he was standing at that back door watching us, and he said he was just sobbing.
Yeah,
he was just sobbing which I can't tap into the pain of never having a dad. But for him to see me and my dad out around this barrel, had a few beers, but we were out there and to see us jamming together, and it was just as powerful for us out there, but he sensed that, and he said he was at that back door just sobbing because he had never got to experience that with his dad.
I can't, I'm not going to be able to pull up the scripture quick enough, but there's a scripture that literally says, where Jesus is talking about it, and he said, he's talking about this, we were weeping or in mourning, and you didn't play a dirge for us.
Right.
And the dirge was a type of mourning song.
Yeah.
And I think about when you're saying that right there, it's like when you're in a place, and there's a bunch of other scriptures too that talk about how you don't sing heavy songs to somebody who needs to be picked up, is basically the articulation. But when somebody's mourning, you cry, you weep with those who are weeping. You laugh with those who are laughing. And it's like, that's the sensitivity to have. And sometimes you don't even know it. Sometimes you're just, most of the time, we are, if we're lucky, we're conscious of our effect on people. We should always strive to be conscious of our own actions. Yeah. But then to be even more fortunate to be conscious of our effect on people, not just how we're acting, but how our actions are affecting, where we can read that. That's more gifting to where we get to the point. So for you guys to say you were singing heavy, and when you sing Black, dude, by Pearl Jam, I mean, that literally got me through the beginning of my first marriage, when we were dating and then got married and then went through 14 years of marriage. That song Black brought me back. I mean, I walked into college and they're like, they gave us a roll call, and one of the dudes, long-haired, bald, like you in your picture of your driver's license, no hair up top, just long hair down the back. This dude walks up and he goes, "Hey, man." I'm like, "What's up, dude?" He's like, "You're Jeremy, right? They called your name?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm so-and-so." I don't remember who the dude was. He goes, "Have you heard your song?" I was like, "No, dude, I don't have a clue." And he goes, "Jeremy by Pearl Jam, man."
Pull it up at the camera
so people get a perspective.
You can see what I'm talking about. All right.
Jeez, Pete. You kind of look like Eddie
Focus,
Vedder.
damn it.
Yeah.
You got the Eddie Vedder
no,
going
there
on.
it is.
No,
right there.
okay, so now picture that. Now just take the top off, because that that hairline.
Think
receded.
Devin Townsend
That
from
hairline just
Strapping Young
receded
Lad.
really
I'm pretty sure earlier I was making fun of his gray beard, and my dad's like, "No, that's platinum blonde."
So let's wrap it up this way. The hour's getting late, but we've had a blast tonight. I think we've had a great time. I hope everybody's out there enjoying it.
Before we get
Great
out of this, I
content.
wanted to
Is
talk
there any more
about.
comment? Well, I want to finish up with our.
Well, I want
Go
to throw
ahead.
a caveat in there of the
Yeah.
fact that the first time you got to play with us on stage there here at the Man Cave, and it was great seeing James on the drums, throwing down to some really cool stuff,
Yeah.
and then seeing his dad just freaking going off.
We-
We were all jamming.
We always have these after, no matter what our gig is.
It's like the third or fourth set,
Right. So we've got.
That wasn't my best performance.
We
by
got-
the way.
But it was so
It
cool
was-
seeing that father and son moment and being a part of
That
that
was a
because you guys
little-
invited me
Yeah.
to come play on stage.
Remember what? Sorry to interrupt, but remember
go ahead.
that sweet spot?
Yeah.
Diminishing returns. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was way diminishing returns for
But
me.
no, it was really cool to appreciate that moment to see, James was on drums, you were on guitar, and you guys were just kind of vibing off
Right.
each other, and the rest of us were there going, man, this is fucking great.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up real quick. Here's some of the things that I had in my notes, which we haven't even touched on until we've got to this point. So I want quickly an artist or group that you turn the radio off. And James has seen me actually do this walk over, and I've either unplugged the radio or turned it literally
Well,
off.
that's mostly because when Kid Rock comes on the job, I crank it just for that reason.
So, but I literally turned to Vince a couple weeks ago, and I goes, Vince, why's the radio off? He goes, Kid Rock came on. I goes, good man. I was like, because I can't stand, because he may be a nice guy, and I've said that before. He may be a nice guy, but he's ripped off all of these heartfelt, emotionally written songs, okay, and turned it into a formula where he just grabs the riff, sings about himself and how cool he is or whatever, and I go, fuck you. But anyways, another guy that I will turn the radio off on is Bruce Springsteen. I can't stand him. I don't know why they call him the boss, but
I never could
I can't
catch
stand
that
him.
vibe either.
Dude, he reminds me of the Ren and Stimpy guy who's screaming and all the veins in his neck are blown out.
I guess
And I'm like,
I never-
dude, what the fuck? Is there blockage
I
in
could
your
never
throat or
get
something?
that vibe, and he's like so well respected for
I
so
can't-
many.
I
but
can't-
I
well,
couldn't.
All
Now,
I'm
here's
saying
the
is
thing.
Max Weinberg from the Max Weinberg 7 on Conan
Oh
O'Brien.
yeah, he's cool. Max is
Badass
cool.
drummer.
Right.
Okay, so
Fucking badass.
I'm not saying he's untalented.
Right.
And from what I've seen of Kid Rock, if he actually wrote some of his own damn music, but he probably wouldn't get the radio play without copying stuff.
Ball with the ball.
So his hate for Kid Rock.
Yeah.
We were building a deck. I was outside. He was inside. The radio was outside with me, and Sweet Home Alabama all summer long came on, and I knew, and I cranked it up just enough to where I know he could hear it inside. Right. This dude, like 30 seconds goes by, and freaking Jeremy opens up the door to the house, comes out, fucking rips the cord out of the radio, walks in and shuts the door. I'm like, dude, are you serious? At that point, I realized, okay, this dude really does not like
So
Kid
this-
You
Rock.
should have tried it. You should have tried it in 432 hertz.
No, so,
There you go.
There you go.
That's it right there.
I realized that our current job site radio doesn't have a battery pack on it, so when you unplug it, it's like another 10 minutes to reboot this bitch. All right, so go, Jim. What do you have?
Someone want to turn the radio on?
Yes, a song or a group that, or an artist or a group that makes you want to turn the radio off. Is there something that annoying?
For me, if like something blatantly evil, I'll shut that off.
But not a specific off the top of your head.
I mean, there's probably a bunch of them, but I don't.
And I mean in the
it
vein of a radio station or playlist, or not playlist, a streaming service that you actually have chosen. But then they throw one of these shits in. I listen to the classic station here
I'll have to think
locally,
about it.
and all of a sudden they'll play Kid Rock, and I'm like, he's not classic. He's a classic douchebag.
Well,
Nothing?
Probably, actually, I mean, and it's no disrespect, but Bruce Springsteen, I think there's like one song.
But
that
do
I
you
can
turn it
listen to.
off or you just turn it down?
I'll change the station.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right,
So that's close
yeah,
enough.
right.
I mean, I would literally, I've threatened to take a hammer to my radio if they don't fucking shut it off. If I can't reach it, I'll be like, shut it off, or I will throw my fucking hammer in. James?
all right.
what you
So
got?
the two songs specifically that I would shut off or change the station is no disrespect to the group, because there's other songs by the group that I really
I
appreciate.
know what you're going to say, and I think I'm the same one. But anyway, go ahead.
Do you? I don't think so. I think I'm going to surprise you here. So the two songs that come on that I can't stand is "Dream On" by Aerosmith. I don't know why.
That's not one.
But you like the Black Top Mojo version.
Oh well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, but no. Dream On by Aerosmith comes on. I'll change it. Now, I mean, there's other songs I like by Aerosmith.
Remind you of looking in the mirror or what?
Dream On. No. All right. The other one is a Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. Great song. No reason I don't like it except that it's overplayed and I've heard it way too many times.
That's why Wojo doesn't like Bohemian Rhapsody or Hotel
Right.
California.
Okay, but now for a
Overplayed.
band, no matter what song it is, a band that I'll shut off, which I know you don't like country, so you probably don't know, but is Rascal Flatts. It doesn't matter what song, when it is, where it's at. If Rascal Flatts comes on, I'm changing the station. I'd rather sit in silence. So that's my answer.
Okay, Tony?
Nickelback.
Nickelback. What? Nickelback, yeah, buddy.
Anything to do with
Anything
Nickelback.
Okay.
I saw her standing in line. And what?
Shut
Really?
the fuck
Shut
up.
the fuck up, man.
So to finish my list, here are my top 4. I don't have a top 5, but Kid Rock, Bruce Springsteen, Jackal, and Georgia Satellites. I will shut that fucking radio off.
Jackal, really?
The chainsaw fucking song, that is as gimmicky as you can possibly get. There's no emotion there. That's-
Nobody else did it, though.
Yeah, rightly so. Okay,
Come on.
And then
You have to admit,
No.
when like he's really
No.
getting in the wood and he
fuck that
drops
guy.
like, from...
I wish he'd cut his.
I seen Jackal
when he
live,
drops
and they
from
were a
the,
kick-ass
when he goes from the
band.
1
They
to
may
the...
have been kick-ass.
When he goes from the 1 to the 4 to the 5, you don't like that.
Let me help you count, bro.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Kid Rock has a huge following too. It doesn't mean I have to like his shit. All right, so then I'm with you. So my notes are then not quite, but close. Nickelback, Janis Joplin, George Thorogood. What? Now,
Janis
it's a
Joplin.
non-judgment zone. We're just sharing our opinions.
All right.
Janice,
You like what you like.
I can't stand Janice because she sounds like all the descriptions of her, that she was just ragged and just, it's like she had no care for herself, that she was just, I can just feel it in the way she's singing, is that it's like there's no, and I go, there's, that emotion is not there for an uplift. That emotion is there for the deepest dive and implosion that you can come up with.
People say the same thing.
Thorogood, I say thoroughly bad. You should have never been let out of the fucking bars.
People said the same thing about Etta James, though.
Okay.
Etta James?
Nah, there's a difference.
There
It's like
is.
listen to Nina Simone, dude. Nina Simone
Right.
fucking, she got into some crazy areas, but that lady sang from the heart. Even when she's singing Butterfly, what's the I'm Feeling Good, which wasn't her song.
Right.
But she grabbed it. They had her come and sing it. And when she sings that song, it's like, dude, and I never heard her version. I heard Muse first.
Yeah.
That was the first version I
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah.
And I heard Muse, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool song.
Right.
And then when I heard Nina Simone sing Feeling Good,
Right.
I was like,
Got
oh
a
my
good feeling.
God, dude.
Yeah.
But she comes, dude, she's sitting at the piano, but then she does the fucking acapella to start, it's like, birds flying high, you know how I feel. And I was like,
All right, let me throw one out. Let me throw one out here.
What you got? What you got?
So,
dislike or like?
no, this is something, but just here it is.
Okay.
What cover song a musician did that you like better than the original?
Disturbed Sound of Silence.
Give me some.
Creep by what's that chick's name?
Oh, fuck. Postmodern Jukebox.
This is gonna sound very vulgar.
Yes.
If you're
Haley,
sensitive to hearing, cover your eyes. But every time I hear that chick sing, I
Oh
get
my
a little bit of a heart.
Who's number one?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm just saying.
Number one song that the cover was better than original. This is easy for me.
Oh, that's easy.
I'm gonna go with.
Hurt.
Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say that.
Yes,
It was either
yes.
that or Sympathy for the Devil, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
They did a good version of that.
Love that version.
But I'm gonna have to hurt. I'm gonna put hurt.
Johnny owned that.
I'm gonna put.
He did
I'm
that
gonna
song.
put-
He like. I mean,
Same thing
even
with
9
Rusty
Inch Nails
Cage.
are like.
Same thing
you
with
know,
Rusty
it's yours,
Cage when
man.
Johnny
It's
Cash
like-
covered Rusty Cage from Soundgarden.
Yeah.
Chris Cornell even said, I can't have this song anymore because Johnny Cash covered
Right.
it.
Well,
he made it his
Didn't
own.
Nine Inch Nails say? Didn't he? Trent Reznor.
Trent
say-
Reznor said the same
he's
thing.
Like, he's like,
It's no longer
It's
a
no
Nine Inch
longer
Nails
my-
song.
it's-
It's Johnny Cash.
yeah. When he did that, dude, and you hear that, and then they did the video, dude, where he's doing it, and he's just banging that piano into fucking.
I bawled my eyes out
me
the first
too.
time I saw that
Me
video.
too.
I still get emotional when
Yes.
it's on, dude, because he's hitting that piano chord, and it's so. It's oversaturating the fucking microphone.
Yep.
How do you distort a microphone in a piano? You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, and he's just like, and you're just like jamming away, and he's like, and then he closes that piano, and it's Johnny Cash. That's one of his last.
Johnny
videos. And he
fucking Cash.
shuts the lid, dude, and he these gnarled old fucking hands, and he just spreads them across that.
That was after he had the
black
stroke.
hair. Yeah, and he's just like, but dude, when he's in there and when he takes the chalice, dude,
Yes.
I'm getting kissed,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Yes.
Dude, that's
He's
emotional, right?
fucking
there. And he's
pours
like, and he's shaking his
Yes.
head. It reminded me of my Grandpa Gibbs, dude.
Yeah.
He's just like, you know,
Yeah.
So-
what have I become?
On the note of Johnny Cash, because
my
Johnny
God.
Cash is the answer to
We're
my
going
next.
over. Like we can't stop.
no, keep going.
It's all right.
There's no time limit, right?
Johnny Cash is the answer to the next question that I have for you guys. But if you had the opportunity to have breakfast with one artist, any genre, anytime, who would you want to sit down and have an hour-long conversation with at breakfast?
Jimi Hendrix without question.
What's the caveat? Dead or alive? Let's
Either
go with dead because
mine would be
we
Johnny
can't.
Cash
Okay.
every time.
Jimi Hendrix without
Jimi
question.
Hendrix.
Man, I Hendrix.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hendrix.
Without
He had
question.
such a humble aura around him, and with someone that could like
He was
just
so
be
relaxed, dude. He's laying in bed and doing an interview. He's like, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes I just think about music and how.
You know, I mean, yeah, he was
touches
doing a lot
you
of acid,
and
you know, but
it's
still.
like,
Well, he was such a laid back guy. Like,
He
you
was.
guys, all he
He
cared
had a
about-
beautiful soul.
Okay,
He really did.
What kind
You
of
know?
dude writes a song called "Love or Confusion" and feels that shit, man?
right.
Like,
Well-
is it love or is it confusion? I mean, it's incredible.
And then when you realize, did you guys watch the autopsy on him?
yes,
They might have killed him.
No, the conclusion
Chad
they came up
Chandler.
with was the fact that the sleeping pills he had in Britain when he got back to Britain
yeah,
were almost identical to the sleeping pills he had in Germany, which were 10 times potent.
yes,
And he popped the same amount that he would have taken in Germany.
Yeah.
And that's what put him into such
I
a
saw
deep
something,
stuff
you
that-
know.
that killed him.
I know this in
This is one of the
but
worst
I
ones.
like someone was like forcing wine down.
No.
No.
He had his normal thing of wine, and when he got back to his hotel room, he took his normal complement
Yep.
of sleeping pills, but they were the British version, which were 10 times more potent than the German versions that he just came from touring in Germany, and it fucking took his heart so far down, and he had wine to drink,
Yep.
and so he aspirated and died. It's crazy shit. So
Who's yours? The
mine-
answer.
I had to ask the caveat, dead or alive.
Chris Cornell.
That's the first person that popped to mind was Cornell, but it's so recent because he just passed. But Cornell, dude, that guy. I mean, if you chalk up vocalists, from the first time of hearing Rusty Cage or dude Spoon Man or but even more
Outshined.
so. Outshined, yes, but even more when he got into Audio Slave. What's the song? What's the song where he gets to the end and he goes and he there's the one song where he goes at the end of it, and he's not doing what I just did.
No.
It's total vocal control.
Yes.
And then there's another song in there where he rasps the fuck.
Show me how to live.
Show me how to live.
Yeah.
And his voice is so ratted out, dude.
Yeah.
And then he comes back into this crisp clarity
Yeah.
and perfection that you just go, what
The
the fuck, dude?
one that comes to mind is Cochise.
Cochise, yeah.
Because that is such an
Yeah. So I would say
song.
if I had to pick somebody who was dead, I would pick Chris Cornell. Of course, I lean towards vocalists. Honestly, I would want to have
Eddie Vedder.
Mozart, dude.
Oh fuck yeah!
That guy was a fucking beast.
He doesn't speak
I mean,
English. That's gonna be a tough.
you know what?
Give me some, man. Give me some. Yes, right.
if we're talking about hypothetical, I'm sure there'll be a fucking. If we can raise this motherfucker from the dead, I'm sure we can get an interpreter in the room. Okay.
Zombie Mozart, motherfucker. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, you're gonna sit there and go, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because he was.
Dude, just
Dude,
gonna hold
that
the Bill
fucking-
and Ted with the phone booth. You'll know. Socrates.
I mean, Mozart, Beethoven, and a few of those other classics were the heavy metal artists of their day.
Yeah, it
I
was
mean,
all
they-
broken music. If you break down broke music to the core foundation of it, it's all heavy metal music.
Yeah.
Seriously, look at it. Tear it apart. Digest it. It's all heavy metal music.
They were and most people don't
Flat
realize
fifths all the way.
No, it's just
But
the
they were
complexities of the rhythms and the melodies
Yeah.
over top of each other. It was insane. Seriously,
Well,
break down broke music. It's all heavy metal.
Now there's some creative license in the movie Mozart, but when you actually go watch it,
Yeah.
the
Amadeus.
criticisms of Amadeus in that movie of Mozart are legitimate because they were saying there's too many notes, there's too much this, it goes on too
I
long.
love that scene
He
where
was
take
just,
the music out of ballet or was opera.
yeah.
Take the music out of it. And they're like, well, this sucks. And then they had the music back, and they're like, oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
because it was the king's
It's like,
decree.
there's
no
simply-
opera could have
There's
music. in it.
simply too many notes. He's like, well, which notes would you like me to take out?
Right.
They're like, well, just go back and figure it out. He's like, no. Every note I've written is the note I want in the piece.
Right.
So when you tell me to take a note out, if you don't have a specific note, then you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know? It's like either enjoy the piece for the sake of it or don't. But it's like, and that's to me, they were, so if I had to pick somebody really genuinely, I mean, I would love to sit with Cornell. He died, you know, tragic circumstances. But I would say Mozart would be one of my guys because I come from music, like I said, as from an emotional perspective. I come from an emotional approach. Okay, my stuff is all. It's like the emotions first, far before it. In fact, when I write music, I don't even sometimes don't even consciously thinking about it. I've looked at you
Yes.
and went dum bum ba da dum ba dum da dum bum bum, and I go, Tony, what should go next? And you go, we'll just play a fifth, and I go, Tony, what should go next? Play the A. And I go, bum, ba, dum, ba, ba, da, dum, ba. I go, thank you. Because I don't come at it from a scale,
A theory
standpoint. I come at it from what I'm feeling. And sometimes
So-
you hit a
all
blockage
about feeling.
because I'm still feeling it,
Yeah.
but I know there's another area to explore, but because I don't have the theoretical background,
Yeah.
I don't automatically know how to go to it. And so sometimes I look at Tony and go, okay, what scale am I playing?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, you're playing pentatonic. And I go, cool. What's the next progression in this? Go to the D, and then the C, and then the G. And I go, boom, boom. Yeah, that works. Okay, thank you, buddy.
So I just want to give a shout out because we're sitting here talking and we're in the barn and I just heard somebody in the truck with some loud music come up, and,
It's probably
and
my boy Vince.
that's where I'm going with this. That's where I'm going with this. I hope someday we'll get
That's my mom right there.
so.
Hey, you're on camera, Mom. Give her a big wave.
Wave.
Go over there. Yeah, there you go.
So here he is right there. But I want to give a shout out to because all this talk about music, all this musical knowledge, all this musical inspiration, talent, drive. And he hasn't been on the show. You haven't had a chance to meet him. I don't think he's ever been on the show, but
He's around, but he hasn't been
but
officially
but
sit
your
down.
son Vince, man, I tell you what, that boy has
Both
got
of my sons.
every drop of talent that you have,
Dude.
and he's got it at a young age. And if he develops it, I hope he can get him in on the show sometime.
Absolutely.
Because,
I gotta
because
say,
this kid has got limitless talent, man.
all three of my kids, dude.
Yeah.
Are blessed.
Dude, okay.
Do a table shot.
Do a table shot, Nate.
Give me that. There he is. Look at that sexy man. Look at that sexy man.
Get in there.
This boy right here has every vocal talent of his dad.
Oh my
And
God.
I've even
No,
heard
no,
you
no.
say it.
Dude, he's beyond my vocal
Yeah.
talent.
No.
You just
No.
got to freaking.
He got a bottle. I bought him a. Did you buy it yourself or I bought it for you? The Aftershock.
He was howling at the wolves, for fuck's sake.
So for Christmas, Mom, come over here. Come over here.
No.
So for Christmas Eve, so this kid for Christmas Eve,
Yeah.
gets a bottle.
Oh
we
my
we
God.
went and bought some booze for Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, so we ended up staying at Walden Lakes.
Here, scoot a little bit so the camera can
Walden
hit you. There he is. There's that sexy man beast.
So we ended up being at the Walden Lakes, and we got a cabin. It was really cool, and Vince got himself a bottle of Aftershock, which is a cinnamon. I drink Fireball. Wojo and I'll traditionally do a shot, and whoever. Yeah, we do a shot. Before practice, and then if we're doing a gig, the majority of us,
We all do a shot.
you all do a shot.
We all do a shot.
And so Vince gets this Aftershock, and he's like, "Dad, it's cinnamon. I'm gonna try it." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Good luck." So him and Ray.
Oh my
We're howling at the fucking moon.
4 a.m.
So Mom and I end up.
We drank the whole bottle.
My mom and I end up sitting at the table. Okay, Mom and I did. How big was that? 500
It was
pieces.
1,000 pieces.
1,000 pieces. So my mom and I started a
people.
500-piece puzzle.
1,000 pieces.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So we're doing a 1,000-piece puzzle at the table at this Christmas Eve. We were up till like 5 o'clock in the morning doing this fucking puzzle. I think we had like 50 pieces left, and I finally.
It was the coolest puzzle though, because it was all like you guys are talking about music. This is all the music. There was Led Zeppelin, Janis Joplin.
It's
the
this
Beatles.
collage of all their posters.
Collages of
Nice.
all their posters
Dude,
or
it was
their,
badass.
Or their albums.
Yeah.
You know? It
Yeah,
was so
it's actually
cool.
if Candy can grab it, it's right over. I think it's right over there on one of my shelves. Candy behind you in the corner.
What is the picture or the puzzle?
The puzzle itself, the
puzzle.
picture on the face, because we tore it back apart.
okay.
We're gonna put it back together and glue it. But anyways, so we're doing it while we're doing this puzzle.
These guys.
The Bluetooth is cranked. Mom brought her Bose to the cabin, and it's cranked up, and we're just going through tunes. And Vince and Ray are just singing at the top of their lungs, dude. I mean, he's just fucking going off, and I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. and at one point, he holds up this half-drank or 2/3 drank bottle of Aftershock.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You want me to sing like this, Dad? This may be what it takes." I'm like, because dude, he was for the first time I've ever heard him in his life.
Yeah.
With a mature voice.
Yes.
Okay. At full volume,
Holding it.
holding it
Like amazing.
on note.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm looking at Grandma and I'm looking at my mom and I'm going, the fuck? How do
It's
we
one of
get
those
that?
moments, man.
No, I go, how do we get that kid to sing like that on a regular basis? We love, of course, I raised him. So what's your favorite, one of your favorite groups?
System of a Down.
Hell yeah.
I'm thinking a little bit more nostalgic.
Go with
Simon and Garfunkel. I've heard
Simon
this.
and Garfunkel.
Okay, no. I got a story. Okay, no. So we were this, here we are. Okay, so we were at the question, right? The Gully Road House, right?
Right?
Okay, so he's got this acoustic guitar.
Oh, shit.
Just picked the motherfucker up, like not even a week of playing this thing. Okay, so he grabs this thing. I'm like, hey man, play me something, right?
Would you stop with
I can't
He
believe
grabs this guitar and he starts playing like was it The Sound of Silence or was it The Boxer?
It was probably Scarborough Fair and fucking
Yeah.
to where he
He's just
he
fucking-
arpeggiated the fuck out of this thing, and we're like, are you shitting me?
Like playing guitar for 2 weeks and he's just like and I'm like,
No.
fuck you, man.
Okay, he was.
He did the same thing on the piano. How
What
old
was
were
he?
you when
He was
did
6,
that?
5 or 6.
Yeah.
He walks up to that shitty piano we talked about, right? he just walks up to the piano.
I remember
And he
that.
looks at it and he goes, ding, 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 ding. We're like,
it starts with one day. And I don't know why.
and then he goes, and he walked away. And we're like, what the fuck?
So,
But you can't get. He won't do
But he
it
won't
on
do.
command.
No. So where were we going?
you gotta get him drunk.
It's gotta be natural.
So, but we were driving. Me and you and Grandma were driving, and your radio was something wrong with your radio.
And we were coming back from Martha's or something, I think.
It was a longer trip.
Yeah.
And all three of us, we just started. One of us would just pick a song.
Yeah.
And we're singing, and this boy. That's why I was going for the Simon and Garfunkel, because he's Simon and Garfunkel, or all the stuff that I grew up on, but then exposed them to Simon and Garfunkel, the Beatles, and when you get into grunge with Pearl Jam, actually Soundgarden, and he's like, we were playing earlier. We were just hanging out here in the man cave, and there was a not a Blacktop Mojo. Who's the band that was doing it? But they had the singer from Blacktop.
Small Town Titans.
Small Town Titans.
Those
and
guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and they had this singer from
Fucking
is a singer from Blacktop Mojo,
Yeah.
and they did Hunger Strike.
Yeah.
And I've told him several times, I'm like, if you do the Cornell part, because he can fucking nail the Cornell part.
I know.
I goes, if you do the Cornell part, I'll do the Eddie Vedder part, and we will fucking do this. And he goes, I'm hungry. Yeah. And I go, what the fuck? So, but
We got the same thing. Like, okay, when you guys were at the Gully Road house,
Yeah.
and Al started playing drums.
Oh
when he was,
my
what,
God,
10 years
dude.
old.
Al, from the time that Ryan started playing with me at the house, Al was like, he would come in and go, can I touch him, Dad?
Yeah.
And Ryan's rule was, you can play my drums whatever you want, don't break the skins.
See, that's the funny part about it, because he's like, dude, teach me something. So all I know is like, well, at the time, I knew like the AC/DC beat,
Right.
right? Kicks there.
Would you stop, you drunken fuck? We're telling a story.
So I taught Al this, right? Now, fast forward to the Gully Road house, which was like, what, 6, 7 years later or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay? So from Vassar to the Gully Road house, right? This dude is up in his room sweating his ass off. And I'm hearing this stuff as I'm making my way up to the room because I'm like, hey, where the hell's Al? I want to say hi.
Right.
Pummeling the shit out of that
That
set. That set right
Here,
there.
Nate, can we get that sat?
Can we get that shot?
I'm doing.
Right there. Right there.
Okay,
That's
the,
it,
The
right
screen is our monitor screen is actually in the way.
Yeah.
But that set continues around. It's double bass. How many pieces is that? 10,
Like
11?
13
13 piece, something like that. Yeah.
plus like 12 symbols.
It's insane. So he's literally sweating his ass off.
But he ain't stopping playing.
And he's
Oh
not
my God.
stopping.
He's just keeping
And she
going.
took everything from that simple 4/4 AC/DC beat and pummeled the shit out of these drums. And like, what was it? The last time? What was it? The New Year's Eve.
No, not New Year's Eve. It was the time before that. It was my.
10-minute drum solo.
He was so.
Which was
and I said,
fucking insane.
because we told him to get up there. We're like, Al, go sit down. We're like, get up there and play this fucking music. And he won't do it. He stopped. I
But no,
Get him on.
he hadn't played the drums what prior to like 6 years.
know. Well, he messes around, but he hadn't actually played.
Right.
Like, to say he played. But
Just sat down and fucking
I goes,
killed
Al,
it.
I goes, Al, you actually killed it, and you didn't have any inhibitions. You fucking nailed it. The house was. I mean, everybody that was here was like, oh my god, that was
That's
phenomenal.
insane.
Yeah, it was insane. And
he
they,
walks by at the end when he's done. He, oh, that fucking sucked.
yeah, he goes, this fucking sucked.
Right.
But and then he goes, it was like a couple weeks later. He goes, Al, that was fucking phenomenal. We finally got you to get up there and jam out. And he goes, you know, Dad, I was really, really stoned. I don't know.
Dude, like I gave him my shoes to play because he was wearing
His
the,
riding
his
or
boots, yeah,
his motorcycle's boots.
Yeah.
And I'm like, take my shoes, man. I don't care. It was great because when he finished, when he finished his drum solo, it was great because he took my shoes off. And I'm walking around like
find that
2-3
that
minutes
puzzle?
afterwards, and I'm like, I'm wearing the shoes to play the drum solo because he's such an incredible musician.
All right,
not just
Jeremy.
drums, not just
Sorry.
guitar, but just like he's such an incredible musician. So intuitive, he just
Yeah.
does it. It's incredible.
And that's a big thing about musicians too. Not necessarily what James was saying earlier about taking a break from stuff, but when you are that creative, there's also an impediment because your creativity can take you to places that you can't handle.
Yeah.
You know, and so I watch my boys, especially my daughter. She's got a beautiful voice. Nicole's never expressed a high aspiration for any music or instruments, but she's got a beautiful voice. But both my boys, I mean, Al, you put him on guitar or drums, and he is. I tried to get him on bass tonight while I was checking sounds, and he just wouldn't do it. But Vince, drums and guitar and vocals, especially. I mean, just like we haven't even. What I've heard of his vocals, I go, my God, son, would you please start singing with me? But anyways, what I do, Mom?
I said, I don't know what you do with your puzzle.
Okay, so we can't find the puzzle, but you guys will see it at some point.
A cereal puzzle.
Yeah.
Over there.
We should get everybody in here before we
Yeah,
get it
yeah,
off.
yeah. So, Vince is gonna jump in the chair.
And go flying.
I
was gonna say,
Tony's on it. Oh, Nate had to go take a pisser.
everybody knows.
Number-
Everybody knows what.
Really?
I'm pretty sure where he's from, they call it a wheeze.
Vince is on there. Vince has got something to say. This is my son, Taylor Vincent. Uh-oh.
He's my best friend.
Is that your brother?
Oh my gosh.
I thought they weren't coming back till tomorrow.
Does it sound like a bunch of metal balls inside a tin can?
That's his car.
Sorry, I
You have your
forgot.
dad dying over there.
Al's car sounds even worse than that.
I go,
Sound like a bunch of metal balls in a tin
and
can.
Al is a welder. Al is a welder by trade. I go, son, the welder's over there. Bring that fucker in here and weld your goddamn exhaust already. And he goes, whoa.
So bring back the music. You like that Simon and Garfunkel? You Can Call Me Al.
Paul Simon. Oh yeah.
Simon,
All right, Simon.
Yeah.
Right, just Simon. You're right. But
One of the albums that I exposed him to.
him
as
and
a-
Chevy Chase.
Well, he did the video.
Graceland.
But the Graceland album is one of the absolute phenomenal albums that I exposed him to as a kid. That to this day, that was another one on my list. Tony, you're back over there.
Hi, darling. You know you want something.
Now, this is the reason we have not had him on the show up to this point.
Because you'll never talk about it anyway. He'll be doing tricks the whole
He's just
time.
gonna fuck around the whole time. Is my son
Here's
coming in?
He's here.
Pour yourself a glass of vapor. Me and Nate were talking about this earlier.
Come on, kid.
Cheers.
You're good with the camera.
A vapor bar.
Come on, Al.
We were just talking about
Where's
it.
Al? Where's he at?
Right here.
There he is. Oh yeah, I can see you now. I'm looking over there trying to picture you.
Back before you break it again.
This is my next to James. This is my oldest son, Al. We were talking
buddy,
about
too.
your fucking phenomenal drum solo during my birthday.
This whole show is about music, and obviously because you're a result of your father, we've been talking about your musical intellect, your musical skill,
And this one's talent.
and your talent.
Spilled my drink.
Can I try it? Can I try it? Can I try it?
Of course, Al is less of a pain in the ass than Vincent.
Bye-bye, sorry.
Get in there, Morgan. Get in there close so everybody can
So-
see you. This is Al's better half, Morgan.
Should we
His
give
beautiful wife?
our family to yours outro?
Well, I got a couple.
Team in here.
I got a couple more things we're gonna go through real quick. Tony's back at the board there because Nate had to do a deuce. So, well, we've gone over. So quickly, we talked about the ones you turn the radio on. Quickly, one song that when it comes on the radio you got to turn up. Jeremy by Pearl Jam. All right, Vince. Fuck you people. Al. You don't listen to the radio. James.
Black.
Black by Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Jim.
Racist.
God, I like so much. If I'm feeling it, I'm turning it up. I
Okay.
don't know, man.
Tony, back there at the council. Like Ace, just pick. I mean, there's a ton of them. I got I've got Jeremy, Lightning Crashes, Rocket Man, Children of the Sun, etc. It's just like there's a number of songs that when they come on, I go,
Not every brain works like yours.
Sad but true, man.
sad but
Any
true.
song that
Sad but
comes
true.
on that I
So
can turn it all the way
fucking
up and then
insane.
sing along to it.
Legit.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible song. If you're not rattling windows and knocking off your
Shit.
All right, I'll throw one.
What?
Ray Charles, Georgia.
Yes!
Yeah. So there's been times James can testify to this. James,
I mean,
where me, you, and Vince and Benny are riding around in the truck.
everything come out all right there, Nate?
You good, Nate?
You all right, buddy? It's been a minute.
Get back in the booth so your boy can get back on camera. All right. Hey, so you guys can testify. We just heard Vince pull up my truck, and then Al pulled up in Vince's car.
Was that the rattly balls that you were talking
So-
about?
That's cool.
His description, he goes, he goes,
Your
it's,
fucking exhaust, asshole!
it's not his, it's his. You need to apologize.
Sorry, asshole!
Everybody get in the camera.
Both.
Everybody get in here.
Yeah, everybody get in the camera.
Morgan, get on the other side.
Come on out here, man.
And we got to give our family to yours.
Cheese candy. Okay, last one. Songs, we went through that. All right. Albums you can listen to all the way through. Sgt. Pepper, of course, that's the pinnacle, right?
Anything by Hendrix.
10, Pearl Jam,
Yes, I agree.
Graceland, Paul Simon.
Yep.
You can listen to the whole fucking thing. For me personally, Throwing Copper by Live. Okay. Modern Day Folklore. Anybody know that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
What the fuck's his name? Ian Moore. Ian Moore, Modern Day Folklore. That whole fucking album. Blacktop Mojo, especially their second album. You can listen to the whole album all the way through, and there's etc. Any albums anybody else can think of that they can listen to the whole
Anything by
album?
Ray
Pink
Charles,
Floyd,
anything
The
by Jimi
Wall.
Hendrix?
Fucking A. I didn't write that one down. That's it.
Jagged
Rachel,
Little Pill.
Jagged Little Pill. That's your absolute favorite. Album you can listen to all the way through, and you don't want to fast forward.
We haven't even brought this band up tonight, but I could listen to the entire playlist of Creed and just get into it and jam to it over and over and over again. So
Alter
that's
Bridge
my,
all the way through, man.
that's my band is Creed tonight
Right.
for the
I
album.
remember that one day.
Yeah,
when
if
you
we go
turn
to
on
greatest
Creed,
hits,
Yeah,
dude.
all the way to work.
all the way to work.
I can put
Yeah.
on. There's some artists where I can put on their greatest
I remember
hits
that because I was
and
sleeping
just
the whole
fucking.
time.
Yeah, fuck you.
Dude, I could do like 2 hours of Elton John, or 3 hours of Billy Joel, or just there's artists that you can just put on. It's
What
like
about you, man? Album all the way through.
Al.
Any deathcore band.
Oh, I got one.
Agreed.
Gojira.
Wolves Amongst Ravens.
Infant Annihilator, After the Burial. I'm just reading your hats.
The only way to listen to that music is to listen to the whole record all the way through.
Right.
Nice.
That's that's the awesome thing about when I really like Tool. I think they're phenomenal. But also Perfect Circle and Pussifier. Their albums
Quit.
are specifically Tool is written. They write their albums after the first one.
Yeah.
They specifically sat down and wrote their albums to be played
As an entirety.
as an entirety.
Yeah.
And so it's when you go back, and I went, there's some spots that I'm not really, that kind of drag me. But when you go back and you listen to it through its entirety,
Yeah.
you get the perspective and the persona of it. And I think so. At the end of the day, it's about music taking us to places. And everybody here at this table and everybody out there watching this, you've had an experience. And I want to plug Nate. Nate's about to do a show. He's working on the title. He had a title, and then he did some research, and he's Nate. Do a shot of yourself there at the computer. Amazing Aging has been running the council most of the night until he had to take.
He's ziplining from the GoPro.
Take the load off me.
Yeah. Until he had to do the big dookie out there.
What full album would you listen to?
Or band. What's your
Skip-
favorite
Yeah,
band?
Morgan, you didn't pipe up, honey.
Yeah.
Circus survived for days. Juturna to carry you away. I can
I don't even
jam
know.
out to that for a
All
long
right.
What
time.
language is that?
I wanted to know, and interpretation too.
You know, it's
Say it
punk
again.
rock.
Punk
I know
rock?
it's
Okay.
punk rock.
You can't go wrong with
But
punk
I
Okay.
You
didn't
didn't catch
Three
the
cheers
name.
for Sweet Revenge. It's Circus Survive. is the
Circus
band.
Survive.
Circus
Okay.
Survive.
All right.
Write
This
that
chick, dude. She
rocks.
Badass.
Dude, she got up on
She
stage
was-
with us a couple weeks ago
Yeah,
playing
during
guitar.
practice, dude.
And just killed it.
She's like, James goes, play these chords. Dun, 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 dun. All right, you got it? She got up there and fucking played this. I'm listening to the song and I start singing and I open my eyes and I look over. I'm like,
I stopped playing. It was
James
all
wasn't
her.
playing. It was fucking Morgan. And I go, what the fuck, dude?
We played like 5 whole songs.
I know.
together. It
I was like,
fun.
all right,
kicked
Morgan,
ass.
learn this piano part and this guitar part because I got a couple songs I want you to come sit in on with this. Anyway,
3
so
or 4 or 5 or 15. Who gives a
yeah.
fuck?
So, anyways, Nate's going to be doing a show where he breaks down. You're going to break down bands or songs.
All the above.
All the above. He's going to break down songs and bands and music in general, and probably dive into some theory because he's passionate about. He's learning to play bass specifically, right? And just learn about music. Tony's his mentor. So look forward to that show coming in with the Strange Friends Media Group, which me and Tony and Heather are the main drivers of that.
This
They're
is
part
my
of it.
brain.
This is my
Don't
brain.
make this weird.
Don't make this weird.
Bitches
Bitches
Fake Radio.
And Survivor Girl.
Survivor Girl with Heather.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And my mom's a survivor. We're gonna get her on the show at some point with Heather. It's gonna be a phenomenal interview. But we've had a blast tonight. Our first show of the new year.
3 hours, man.
This is my
Yeah.
brain. This is the shit that
Thanks
comes
for
out of
hanging
my
in
brain.
there.
And then when I let all of these earwigs come in here and just root around and chew on the morsels and hang out and lay their eggs, and next thing I'm gonna know, it's like anyway. So
The
Twilight
Zone.
we love everybody out there. We've had a blast tonight. We hope you've enjoyed the whole podcast.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
All of this stuff.
Yeah,
From our family to
We're on
yours.
Twitch.
yeah. Dustin's helping us tremendously to streamline and make everything flow together.
Yeah.
Because getting all this stuff out there, we're sharing our heart, sharing our content because we want to encourage and inform and entertain and just have people have a good time because that's what life's about is, eat, drink, and enjoy these days of your life on this earth. And so we want to thank you, everybody here, and say to you all, have a great